And I'm not muted this time. We are live. Welcome back to another episode of Bred in Captivity. Once again, coming to you super late at night. We're going to figure out a schedule soon, I promise.
That also depends on where you're watching from, but yeah, for sure we are.
Yeah, we're in Toronto, so I'm talking to Canadians in this time zone. But, of course, we love an audience from anywhere. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Day 380, I can't remember, of this genocide in Gaza. And Bassem Youssef, who had one of the most viral, rewatched, clipped interviews on Piers since October 7th last year, is back for a round 2 discussion. That little tippy-tappy that you're hearing is my dog. The interview was crazy good the first time for a few reasons, and Piers is going to get into that too, but Bassem used a sort of comedy that I think...
Dark humor.
Dark humor that cut through a lot of the bullshit and really resonated with people and had them seeing things from a different perspective after Piers just kept on pushing, just towing the Israeli line. And in that year that he's had Bassem Youssef on, he's had countless, well, not countless, but tons of Israeli and Palestinians, experts, people making arguments for both sides in this, even though there really is just the one, even though the Israeli argument is really senseless and useless because they are a belligerent occupier and shouldn't really be up in their lands and need to cut this shit out. The whole world has turned on them, and let's not even go down that road too early. But he's had so many experts on, people who have, people like Ilan Pappé, who is an Israeli himself, people who, like Norman Finkelstein, who's lost his parents in the Holocaust, in the Nazi Holocaust, people like Gabor Mate, who himself was a survivor of the Holocaust, who have given him incontrovertible evidence, Googleable stuff. They are scholars in this field. And it seems like nothing really sticks to this guy, Piers, right? He has another person on, and suddenly it's like, oh, I don't remember anything that's happened, right? He's just with his moral quandaries or whatever. He's just stuck having a moral quandary about seeing all the dead babies and the carnage that we are being made to see every single day, courtesy of the IOF, most disgusting army on the face of the planet, if you could even call them an army. Most disgusting pile of video game frigging fascist murderers that I've ever seen in my life. We are not the only people who are so shook by what we have seen over the last year.
For sure. Whose
entire perception of the world has changed in the past year because of what we've been seeing in Gaza, who are just completely disgusted at Israel and its supporters for what they're doing over there in Gaza. And to see somebody like Piers, who has not only the privilege of getting to interview and discuss this issue with people who are the most knowledgeable about the subject, people who have been on the ground, people who have been there, he has that, but still wants to push Israeli Hasbara, as they call it, which is the word for pro-Israeli propaganda in Israel in Hebrew. And he's just going to toe the line. He's going to use all of his Hasbara training, which is so apparent now that we have watched the 4-part series from the Electronic Intifada. We wanted to put out the second version of that video, but unfortunately our first attempt at it was corrupted. We're going to have to try it again. But we will be doing the entire 4-part series in which the Electronic Intifada actually gets a guy to go undercover into the Israeli fucking lobby, okay? This guy, he's an unassuming, nice-looking, skinny white guy. He's like, yeah, no, I love Israel. And he gets invited into the inner circle of this fucking cesspool of a lobby.
Yeah, really quickly, by the way. They were very eager to recruit him, might I add.
They were so eager to recruit him. They were so proud and boastful about what they were doing. It reminded me, if you have ever seen that movie, The Big Short with Steve Carell from The Office, where they find out the American economy is going under, and everyone's kind of trying to make money on it. The American housing economy is going under. Everyone's trying to make money off of it, and he can't believe how eager these guys are to tell him about the scam that they're running. That kind of was what it reminded me of. Like, they were attacking college students. They were going after people that they knew were not anti-Semitic. They were going after fucking Jewish people themselves, calling them anti-Semitic. And to see the training that those people get in the video, because that's part of what you see in this 4-part docuseries, and to see Piers Morgan just regurgitating that makes me so fucking sick. Okay, I thought a while ago, towards the beginning of this, that he deserved some type of credit for bringing on these Palestinian voices. But now I've come to see it for what it really is. He's using it to get clicks, and he is using his training to discredit them, to make their position look less
credible,
less morally righteous, right? Less and seeing him deploy those tactics, it's disgusted me to a whole new level. And now we're going to see Bassem Youssef back after a year. And I was very interested to see what Bassem had learned from his interview with Piers the first time. And obviously having watched the interview with Piers a few times since then, and all the other people he's interviewed, I was hoping that he would come with a kind of energy that would make me feel like he was super ready for this, the way Mohammed Hijab was.
Again, he had learned.
Best frigging interviews on Piers' show since as pertaining to this issue, because that's the kind of energy that these people deserve. There really doesn't need to be any reason to fight with kid gloves when you're talking to people who are supporting a genocide, right?
Facts.
I mean, in the beginning, I understand that there was like the benefit of the doubt. You know, they hadn't gone as far as we've seen them go now. We haven't seen the images that we've seen now. We haven't been able to uncover all of the many thousands of lies that we've been able to now. But at this point in the game, at this point in time, for you to still be in any way supporting the Israeli position is not something that I think is worth respecting. I don't think that's something that you need to come in there with any sort of integrity to discuss, because Piers is not someone who's censored. Piers is somebody who has more information to this than about this than the average person, and he chooses what he's going to put out and what he's not. So, I'm thoroughly disgusted by this man. I know that when all of this is done and there's going to be a sort of reckoning for the role that so many people played in enabling all of this, Piers is going to point to these interviews and all of the times that he said, oh, and I think Israel has gone too far, as a way to absolve himself. But it's not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough. He is a man who has towed the line for Israel. I don't even know what to say. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think that remember when Piers had Loki on the show, and Loki said, of course, that you're going to just keep regurgitating these facts. You're supported by Rupert Murdoch. I feel like at the end of the day, that's a really big...
Not facts, propaganda lines. Yes, 100%. Yeah. I love the Loki interview, and that's an excellent point, right? The fact that he tries to come on here as some sort of, oh, I'm an uncensored guy just telling it like it is, when you are under the direct employ of a man who is funding Israel, okay, money out of his pocket to make sure that whole frigging apartheid colonial experiment works, it's phenomenal. And he said that he's read some of the books that you and I, M. the Gem, are reading now.
Well, I mean, clearly not, because if you've read some of the books, there's just some undisputable facts in the books that, would not leave any moral quandaries for you.
You know what I mean? So he is a liar.
Yeah. And
we as in like the world, we have to play this game and pretend that this liar is, somehow a moral person, and I don't whatever. It's a game that I'm tired of playing, but it's important to break down, and it's important for everybody who has a voice to be able to come out and call out the BS that we're seeing and continue to keep Gaza at the top of the minds of a lot of people, because this world is so interconnected that I don't think we all are appreciating right now, myself included, what this movement against what Israel is doing and against the people and countries, even though we are their citizens, Canada, where I am, America, where my family and a lot of other people are, the way that we're coming and showing out for this movement, for these people, it is going to fundamentally change things in our own countries in the future, and I think that's going to be for everybody's benefit. So this is not to say that do it for a selfish reason, but if you need a selfish reason, it's there. I'm just saying that it's the right thing to do, and doing it is going to improve the lives of all of our lives, because nobody wants to live knowing that this stuff is going on, and if it's going on there, we're paying for it in a lot of other parts of the world as well, and all that shit needs to stop. And if we can make an example out of Israel, then hopefully it won't be so difficult the next time we rise up, because the powers that be will understand that
there are repercussions to your actions.
Yeah,
and as of now,
exactly.
there are none. Like in this whole this entire event, I've told you I've been so frustrated with the I guess if you can say involvement of the UN, because why do you exist? Why do you honestly exist?
The UN is a fucking joke. The fact that one country can override, and it's not even the most populous country, can override the will of everybody else in the UN. And if you don't know what we're talking about, it is the veto power that America has in the UN's Security Council, which is the place where a ceasefire could be demanded at the UN level. Although, to be quite frank, at this point, getting the UN to say anything is just for the benefit of having it on the record, on the historical record. Because make no mistake, there is not a UN resolution, a phone call from America, anything that is going to stop what Israel wants to do, unless they are just no longer funded. That's it. They don't have the capability to win this war without the help of the rest of the world. If they did, they wouldn't have to spend $100 million on foreign elections like AIPAC promised to do in America. They wouldn't have to attack the University of Toronto student encampments. They wouldn't have to sue Saint-Médune, the company that in Canada, or are classified as a terrorist organization, a group that is a nonprofit that is helping Palestinians who have been arrested in Israel without any charges. I mean, that would be like calling the Innocence Project a terrorist organization. It's that level of fucked up. So you don't do this when you're in a position of strength. You do this when your back is against the wall and you need to win the war through these side dealings, because the war of political opinion, what the world thinks of you, that's been decided, right? There's not a person that I speak to who doesn't just despise what Israel is doing right now. And if they think that that's not going to lead to the worst kind of anti-Semitism that is to come, that's another reason I cannot fucking stand them, because I cannot imagine what it's like to be just a regular Jewish person who wants nothing to do with this fucking mess. And Israel's out there saying, like, I'm doing this for Jews, I'm doing this for Jews. And shut up. Keep my fucking name out of it. Oh my God. Yeah. So anyhow, let's get into it. Bassem Youssef. And I'm going to play it on 1.5 because...
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Glad you came into that.
Of course. I mean, I want to always be a person. It's much
No,
nicer.
it's great.
Yeah.
You've been critical of me saying I only do what I do because I'm after clicks.
I never said that about you.
You did.
I know that you mean well, but you are trying to two-sided.
You're too one-sided.
We should believe that Hamas
I'm just gonna go
went
to
in
the
with
next
AK-47
chapter.
and closed the country down.
What's your argument? The Israelis did all that themselves. A series of reports of women who were extraordinary that it's been a year. When you think back to that first interview that we did, that 23 million people watched around the world, and I still get asked about it all the time. just take me back to how you were feeling then. It was so, in immediate aftermath of October the 7th, Israel's response was coming very hard at the time. What was in your mind at the time when you did that interview, and the way you conducted it?
I was very scared. I was advised by my managers and agents not to do the interview because I could lose my career, and I just took it because, and actually, as a matter of fact, your producers asked me a couple of times, and I said no because,
Really?
and then I said like I had to do it.
I want to play, just for those who haven't seen it, there aren't many, but let's take a look at some of that first interview.
Those Palestinians, they're very dramatic. Israel killing us. But they never die. I mean, they always come back. You know, they're very difficult to kill, very difficult people to kill. I know because I'm married to one. I tried many times. Couldn't
this
kill
is
her.
what got him.
I mean, there's a dark humor
Famous
there, and I
the first
understand
time,
why.
right?
Because
No, it's not dark humor. I try to get to her every time, but she uses our kids as human shields. I can never take her out. I really applaud Israel for doing one thing that no military force in the world does. Because I heard Ben Shapiro and I heard Ron DeSantis, and they said Israel is the only military force in the world that warns civilians before bombing them. I mean, how fucking cute. That is so nice of them. Because with this logic, if Russian troops started warning Ukrainians before bombing their houses, we're cool with Putin, right? I mean, okay, Habibi, you have warned them, go invade. It's fine. You have done your job.
Yeah.
it was a brilliantly
Is it
devastating
too fast,
technique you used in that interview, which took me a while to work out what you were doing and why you were doing it. It was very powerful, resonated with many people very closely. Where do you think we are with this war now? And in fact, not just the war, obviously, in Gaza, but the wider war that's raging now in Lebanon, the threats against Iran, and so on, the whole thing.
I mean, Israel is defending itself, right? I mean, that's what the Western media is telling us.
They would say they are.
Yeah, and I want to buy into it. I'm trying to convince my
Can you
friends.
buy into any of their logic that they believe they are defending themselves?
Okay.
Do you believe them, that they believe that?
Let's put that in the test. So if Israel is defending itself against an imminent danger, like an existential threat, I don't understand if, for example, Macron would announce that he will impose an embargo in Israel's arms, and then Israel goes and bombs the French oil facilities in Lebanon. How is that defending themselves?
Boom.
There's like a group of American doctors who were in Gaza and came back, and they reported seeing tens of children with sniper shots in their heads and necks.
Yeah.
How is that defending themselves? Just a couple of days ago, we saw a little kid being shot by a drone. His family came to a friend to help him, and then they were all killed. How is that defending itself? I mean, I hear it,
Thank you.
but I just don't see it.
But do you believe that fundamentally Israel believes it is acting in self-defense?
Israel can
Why
believe
would-
whatever
no,
they want.
stop.
I'll tell you a story that actually can tell you exactly how Israel. I'm from Egypt, you understand this, you don't know this, right?
Yeah.
April 1970, there was an attack of an Egyptian school in the middle of Delta, 100 kilometers from where my parents were born. It's called Bahr al-Bahr. On that day, Israel bombed a school, killing 30 students. Now, what was so interesting going back in history, this was the headline of the New York Times of the day. And it says 30 pupils in Egypt said to die in raid. Said to die, the passive voice. Which raid? Who did the raid? We don't know. And then you read it. This is Moshe Dayan. He was the defense minister of Israel at the time. He said, the target had been a military structure that had been photographed from air both before and after the raid. What could have happened here was irresponsibility of high orders from the Egyptians that they set aside a floor or some room for civilian purposes such as a school. Now, do you believe that?
Oh,
You don't,
wow.
Right? It's ridiculous. And the fact is that the New York Times then, same as the New York Times there, covering for it. But there was one thing that caught my attention. They said no mention was made of the use of napalm in the attack. I said, why would we have such a disclaimer? It's because 3 months ago, Israel bombed a civilian metal plant, killing 70 workers with napalm. So this, when I hear Israel defend itself,
Napalm is some ancient war shit, okay? That's like from the Vietnam War. And that stuff is supposed to not be used in modern warfare. Do you know what napalm does to you, like does to your body?
I have to be honest. When he said that, I heard Nepal, and I
No,
was a
no.
little confused. No.
It's napalm is a gas. Let me just napalm is an incendiary mixture of a gelling agent and a volatile petrochemical. The name is portmanteau, or two of the constituents of the original thing. Okay, what happens to you? When used as part of an incendiary weapon, napalm causes severe burns. During combustion, napalm deoxygenates. Just gonna let people read along as well. Deoxygenates. Can you? That word doesn't sound right anymore.
So essentially,
No,
it
can you
causes.
just read that word? Read it.
Sorry, deoxygenates.
Deoxygenates.
I hear
My
you.
mouth
Yeah,
won't
sometimes that
make
happens.
That sound.
Yeah. So essentially, it
Deoxygenates.
causes death by asphyxiation and burns.
The available air and generates carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide. So asphyxiation, unconsciousness, and death are also possible
Right.
after you get burned.
So
up from
it removes
inside out.
all the oxygen in the atmosphere, and wow, that's And by the way, it burns at temperatures ranging from 800 to 1200 degrees Celsius.
That is fucking crazy. So Israel has and is using napalm. They're using it now in Gaza. That's already been reported.
That's my point. There is absolutely no point of all of these powers being in play for, there are rules around warfare, because no, there are not. There are no repercussions for people who do not follow these rules around warfare.
The repercussions are only for the poor countries, right? And that's one of the shocking things that you learn, because there are UN resolutions that force African countries to pay reparations to, say, another African country that they were having a war with. And these countries are making payments, okay? They're following the rules.
Where are your reparations, bro? Let's start there, okay? Excuse me, Europe?
Let's not even, okay. I'm not, last time we did the video, we went on a 45-minute tangent about poo or something like that, so... Let's try to get through this one. So Bassem is obviously fucking pissed off and annoyed, because why wouldn't you be? Pierce is not asking serious questions. Oh, is Israel defending itself? Well, they're actually murdering children, and then when people come to help the murdered child, they're murdering the families as well. And there are doctors coming back shell-shocked and unable to sleep at night because they can't fucking understand how they saw so many bodies of children who had been shot in the head. So no, I don't think they're defending themselves. Well, do you think they think they're what the fuck kind of question is that even? Like, why is this is what the veneer of any sort of like journalistic integrity that Piers had is gone.
This just comes back to that electronic intifada training.
This is such, do you believe they believe that? Does he ever ask an Israeli, do you think Hamas thinks they're doing the right thing? Because it's an unconscionable thing for him, right? Even though that is a way better question, because again, I'm done condemning Hamas when you see what these people are doing. Armed resistance is not something that you can condemn, because there is not a peaceful way out for them. They've tried everything. Oh.
Well, here the IDF, they're liars. And I'm sorry to say, but they are.
Do you categorize what Hamas has been doing, particularly on October the 7th, what Hezbollah did within hours of October the 7th, and carried on
Look
for
at
the next
his
year,
face.
what the Houthis have done, a lot of it orchestrated by, doubtless, the Iranian regime. Do you categorize that as
The leg
resistance,
shaking.
as freedom
I
fighting?
feel it.
Or are there elements of all those groups who are genuinely terrorist in their thinking?
Oh, someone's a terrorist is other one's.
Yeah, but
hero.
how you categorize
How
it?
I categorize it? I mean, like I'm an American citizen, of course. I don't want to come back and find the FBI raiding my house. So yes, of course they're terrorists.
Do you believe that?
Well, at the advice of my lawyer, I would say
Well,
that they're
I
terrorists.
don't think you'd be banned from going back to America
You
if you said
think,
they were
you know
terrorists.
what happened to Scott Ritter? He was the former UN inspector of nuclear weapons in
Thank
Iraq.
He's a
you.
convicted paedophile.
Yeah, but like when he was raided a few months ago, it was because he was talking against Israel. Asa Winstanley, he was a British journalist in London, and
he say
his house was
Scott
raided just
Ritter
last week
committed
because he talked
pedophile?
about Israel. And this is actually, Piers, what I like about you is that you are a fierce warrior against cancel culture. Right?
Yeah.
If you cancel people for their opinion, we're not living in a
I
free
agree.
world anymore, right?
I totally agree.
So, for example, you have Robert Saleh, who was the coach of the NFL Jets. He wore like a small Lebanese flag, and he was canceled. I mean, I don't know. It's interesting. I came to America, and I was so happy that I can speak about anyone I want. And then suddenly it's like, oh, we can do whatever you want, unless if it's like.
It is. I mean, it's tangible to me when I go to America, far more than it is in the UK, for example. The support for Israel is pretty rock solid in terms of their political class, in terms of much of the media, if not all of the media. It's more tangible in America than it is in most other countries,
Yeah.
including here.
Yeah.
A lot more criticism of
why?
Israel here than there is in America.
Yeah, and yet you have Israel having a crazy control on the political apparatus, whether in America or in here. I mean, 13 out of 25 of the labor cabinet here are funded by Israeli lobbies. 126 out of 355 MPs are funded by Israel. I mean, out of those 13 members of cabinet is the prime minister himself, his counselor, his deputy, the home secretary, the foreign secretary, and the secretary of the treasury, who oversees the arms shipments to Israel. So I don't understand.
We're not far from
why.
having
I
a
think we should talk about
full-on
that more
live
about anything,
bidding
because that is
website
actually what
for
gives Israel the
American
cover for what they're
government
doing.
officials.
Seriously.
I mean, my take on Israel's government is that Netanyahu, to get back into power, aligned himself with some very hard right-wing people who've spoken in a very genocidal language about what they really want to do with Gaza and Palestinian people, and that he should go and they should go, and there should be new leadership in Israel, but that there should also be no place in power or government going forward for a group like Hamas after what they did on October the 7th. Would you
you.
agree with that?
Well, I'm not a Palestinian, so I cannot really.
What's your view?
Well, what's my view? Oh, yeah, I understand the view of, well, there's two things about it. First of all, when you say that Netanyahu and Smotrich and Ben Gvir should go, it's as if as the rest of the Israeli political scene is peaceful. As a matter of fact, more than 90% of Israelis in a poll said that they should do more in Gaza. Over 70% of Israelis said that they should actually stop the aid, the humanitarian aid in Gaza. But let's talk about how, yeah, I understand the thing. Like, if you gave them a state, it would be rewarding terrorists, right? And we understand, like, I mean, I have to be fair, and I know that a lot of Arabs will hate me for saying this, but like, yeah, terrorism has been actually going in the Middle East for a very long time. I mean, do you remember the bombing of the King David Hotel? 92 British soldiers were killed.
Okay, Bassem again with the fucking dark comedy gold. So what he's talking about right now he's going to be listing a bunch of Israeli terrorist attacks. These guys invented terrorism in the Middle East, okay? There were no suicide bombings. Okay, I read this and I have yet to confirm it, but I think that one of the earliest records of suicide bombings in the Middle East are Israeli suicide bombings. These guys were pissed. They had formed militias after they had started creating the State of Israel. Actually, the original Israeli army is made up of a bunch of crazy militia groups that went on murder sprees and committed the Nakba. And they got so out of hand that the British, who had put them in power and put these little terror groups in power, they were like, hey man, slow down. You're kind of moving a little bit too fast here. You're killing too many Palestinians. What are you doing? They blew up the King David Hotel, okay, to send a message to the English that we run it here. Just send the money and shut up.
Oh, wow.
And the English were like, you know what?
Hear you loud and clear.
I'm out. Dippity doo dah. They were like, they didn't want to. Cheerio. Man, that's all I know. Well, no, I watch a lot of shit's engagement. I know a little bit more English nomenclature, but I can't think of anything right now. Anyhow, he's going to start listing that in a point of sarcasm. And Piers, again, it's going to be like nothing happened.
Yeah.
Bombing of the Cairo Haifa train, over 200 soldiers, British soldiers killed. The assassination of Volker Bernadotte, Lord Moyen, all done by Israeli Zionist militias. They were the terrorists, and they were rewarded of having their own state. So I don't understand the double standard. As a matter of fact, one of the people who were in these terrorist attacks was Isaac Shamir, and he was on a terrorist list, English terrorist list. He couldn't come to London until he became a prime minister. But to be fair, the Israeli government at the time, 1949, have actually declared the Stern gang as a terrorist group, and they arrested 2 of them, and they gave them very, 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 very severe sentences, 8 and 5 years, and then they were released after a month.
Do you see any blame on your side for any of this going back to 1948?
Won't talk about it anymore.
Yeah, okay. If I had, well, now it's legal, but before weed was legal in Canada, if I walked around with like a gram of weed, I'd get more jail time than that.
Absolutely. And not to mention, we are now witnessing a full Israeli society with a Knesset, which is like their governing body, discussing whether or not it is okay to sodomize prisoners.
Jesus
okay?
Christ.
So let's not talk about...
Why is that even a God.
Well, because this is the problem with a religious state, right? Whether it's a Muslim one, Christian one, there is going to be some sick shit that comes up, because when you have the opportunity to use the Bible or the Torah or the Quran as a tool to get what you want instead of as a spiritual guide for how you should live, you will find ways to manipulate text to fulfill anything you want, right? So it completely ignoring what the spiritual purpose of the text is, focusing in on some of the more heinous things that you can find, like how Jews and non-Jews are supposed to be treated differently, right? There are plenty of Jewish people who, knowing that stuff is mentioned, choose not to live by those things because it doesn't transcend to the day and age that they live in now. Jewish people are some of the most outspoken when it comes to human and civil rights. And I'm talking about Jewish people, not Israeli people, because I refuse to accept that Israel is a representation of Jewish people. It's just not. So when you hear this kind of stuff, it really is a mindfuck.
I really appreciate that, that you made that point too, because it's very easy to categorize everybody in that same Israeli Zionist lens, and it's very important to differentiate that no, not everybody has those opinions. Absolutely at all.
Not. Part of the Israeli propaganda machine one of their main goals is for every Jewish person to consider themselves Israeli, even if they don't live there, because they want the numbers over there, right? They want the people over there. They want the economy. They don't care that they would be putting those people in danger. They don't care that the image of Israel is becoming so, has deteriorated and degraded into such an ugly thing that it literally puts the lives of Jewish people who are pro and anti-Zionist all over the world at risk. Because when you stir the emotions of people in such a way that you're seeing dead children, and then you have, Israeli society that's putting up mocking Pallywood videos and stuff, mocking the dead Israeli soldiers wearing the lingerie of the families and women that they're murdering, you will find in any society the people who will give in to those base urges of wanting to resort to violence, of wanting to extract some sort of revenge, even though that does not serve any purpose, and it does not help a Palestinian in any fucking way for you to be violent against Jews here or anywhere else in the world. It does, that is your own sick inner demon finding a way to release itself by expressing violence towards a certain group, and you feel legitimized in it because Israel is just constantly pushing this fucking ugliness out into the world, and it's reaching not just people like me and the Gem and you, and who want to learn and who want to resist this the right way, and I mean us outside of Palestine the right way. I won't impose any rules on Palestinians. Get it how you need to get it, but for us who want to do it the right way and go through the avenues of information, of protesting, of boycotts, of political engagement, it's also going to reach people who want to do bad things and who are going to see this as an excuse to, they've always hated Jews, or they've always been bigots. And now they're like, oh, great, everybody hates Israelis, and Israelis are Jews, and Jews are Israelis. I guess I can just go fuck up any Jew, and I'll be fine. And you're bolstering this. You're empowering it, Israel, when you constantly say that we're doing this for Jewish people all over the world. But they don't care about Jewish people.
They don't.
They absolutely do not.
This is just a political statement.
I mean, they care about them in a way that's kind of perverted, They care about you in the way that they just need bodies in Israel to make sure that the state survives. And if you don't believe me, then you can look up the entire investigation into how thousands of Yemeni Israeli babies were stolen from their family to be given to European Israeli families in order to increase the numbers of Ashkenazi Jews.
We should do a cover on that.
Yeah, we will cover that. But I mean, if you don't believe that, that's a huge incentive for the state of Israel, then, feel free to look that up in your own time. But here's Bassem. We're only a few minutes, and I'm going to try not to stop for a little bit. I'm going to try to take some notes and just talk about things after they go on, because at this rate, we're going to make this another fucking 3-hour stream.
Yeah. Genuinely, I mean, I'm not after a satirical response. I mean, genuinely, when you look back at the history of this conflict, I mean, one of the most powerful pieces I've read actually about all this, one that I just thought was very interesting, was a Jewish journalist called Jonathan Friedland at The Guardian. And he wrote a column where he said he could make a very powerful argument, both for Israel and for the Palestinians, in which he could present a case that they were the more overriding victim of this whole conflict.
I'm aware of Jonathan Freeland.
What's your view of him?
Well, everybody knows he's a liberal Zionist. He's one of the most outspoken people in defending Israel. But
But my point was, he said that he could construct a case for Palestinians to have a genuine right to feel aggrieved.
You know what else?
Can you do the same the other way?
You know what else he said? He said, Israel has a very difficult choice of if they continue doing it in Gaza or not doing it in Gaza. All we can do is just acknowledge it and see it. And this is very privileged because he can do it because he's on the stronger side. And this is the thing, it's like, oh, we acknowledge it, we see it, it's so bad, we kill civilians, but what we can do? And then we raise our hands at the end and say it's too bad, it's inevitable, war is so bad, it's bad. But to your point, yeah, I think the Palestinians had done a grave mistake for not accepting the settlement that they were given by the UN partition. I mean, they were given 47% of their land. And let's go back. The Balfour Declaration was 1917. At the time, there were 60,000 Jewish people living in a 700,000 population, which makes them 8%. That number jumped from 8% to 30% after the Second World War and the Holocaust. Now, imagine yourself being a Palestinian, having all of these refugees coming to you, and then they're forming gangs and stealing your land and killing you. And then the UN said, I know what we can do. I'm going to give the people who just arrived 30 years ago 53 of the land, and I'm going to give the people who are already there, who form 70%, 47%.
But there are also, so I would say to you, there are also hundreds of thousands of Jewish people who were displaced from their homes in Arab countries. So was that wrong?
Well,
I advise that you read Avi Schleim, who is a Jewish Iraqi, and he also, I think he's also British. That's not the timeline. The timeline was...
It is true, though.
Yeah, but that's not the timeline. The timeline is important. The timeline was the Zionist gangs, they were killed, they raped, they stole land, and then they basically evicted the people out of their land, and overnight 750,000 Palestinians was displaced, overnight. Over the few years, of course, now Israel is now the enemy, and there was a lot of rise of nationalism, and yes, in some countries, that happened. But like,
was that wrong, is my point?
Of course, but like, it is not the whole thing.
What I'm trying to do, I'm not trying to trap you or trick you.
No.
I'm just trying to get you to concede that in a period since 1948, there have been things on both sides. I'm not trying to equivocate either. I'm just trying to get you to... I understand completely everything you've said and are going to say about Israel.
Both sides
and you're very
point,
implacable
please.
about that. And you have every right to be, so I get that.
There have been things
can
on
you
both
find
sides.
criticism of your own side in this argument going back to 48?
What?
Proper
that's
criticism,
right, I
where
thought
things
you
have
were
been done
talking to me.
differently. Perhaps we wouldn't be where we are.
Okay, so if you are British and you had 1 million Ukrainians arriving to your home, and then over 30 years, that number increased to 30% of the population, and then the UN gave you less than half of your country, wouldn't you fight? Wouldn't you resist? But now it's
That wasn't my question.
What was your question?
Whether you can find anything to criticize since 1948.
Give me something to criticize.
No,
I mean, there's a lot to criticize.
You know the history better than anybody.
There is a lot to criticize. Of course, there's a lot of mistakes. I mean, the Middle East has been plagued by a lot of the military dictatorship. Of course, I mean, but having mistakes we should not be penalized by having our land taken away from us just because the other side is stronger, right? Because what are you telling your kids? If you're strong and you have enough arms and weapons, you can take whatever land you want. That's not why the UN was formed. That's not why the Security Council was formed.
When you heard that Sinwar, the Hamas leader, had been killed, what were your feelings about that?
Well, when I heard he was killed, of course, like, I mean, it was this is something that was actually, I said, like, oh, wow, that's actually, he survived all of that. But I think it was a huge mistake by the Israelis to release the footage, because now he's an icon, right?
Is he?
Well, I mean, again, someone's terrorist is someone else's hero, right?
Right, but all he did was lob a piece of wood at them. That was
Yeah,
it.
well, I mean, he was also like, he was lost an arm and he was there, and it took them 3 tanks to bring down the house. I mean, hey, you can respect your enemy.
But when you saw the footage, for example, of Sinwar in one of the tunnels he'd helped create, spending the billions that had been given to Hamas.
Billions?
Well, they were given billions of dollars. And I would say Netanyahu was quite happy to do that because he wanted to create a split between Hamas and the Palestinian Authority. So I'm not...
So why are we blaming Hamas? Why are you not blaming
No, I'm just saying
Netanyahu?
that Hamas had an option of how to spend that money.
Yeah,
they were the government in power, and they chose predominantly to spend it on a tunnel system and arming themselves. When you see Sinwar walking through that tunnel safely with his wife and
That's as far as I could have gone without pausing.
At each other.
I have to just pause on this point because what he's saying here is Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been funding the fucking shit out of Hamas, okay? He's been giving them billions of dollars. Why? Why would he do that? And this is not some conspiracy. This is on record, reported by Israeli newspapers, reported by everybody. And the reason he was doing this was because it looked like up in the West Bank, the Palestinian Authority or the PLO or whatever you want to call them was getting their shit together, okay? And moving in a way that it was looking like, hey, Israel, is it just me or are we about to have 2 states? And Israel was like, So he went and gave Hamas a bunch of money for the express purpose of arming their their most extreme groups.
Right.
And Hamas's government obviously he went to the militia wings, and he wanted to arm them so that they would. He knows. Okay, it's like giving a baby a stick. Okay.
No. This is straight out of Daddy USA.
Swear to God.
This is straight out of
Swear
Daddy's
to
playbook.
So he goes there, he gives them the money, and he knows that he's doing something that's consequential but inconsequential. Because, oh my God, the rockets. Have you ever noticed that thousands and thousands of rockets get launched into Israel but no Israelis die? Have you noticed that? Nobody's dying because these rockets are nothing burgers, okay? They are blocked by sea, by land, by air. What does that mean? You can't ship nothing to them. You can't, mail a goddamn thing to them. You can't get past a fucking wall that's blocking them in. You can't send in a bag of chips to Gaza without Israel giving you the okay? They used to have some sort of like Pablo Escobar style tunnel going to Egypt, but then that all got shut down when America...
to Egypt.
Yeah, they did. Egypt had like a huge tunnel where they're like bringing things in for them. Back when Egypt had a better, different government, but now they have the Sisi guy there who was obviously backed by the West and by Israel, la-di-da, and now he shut that whole thing down. Of course, he had a beef with people. It was an enemy of my enemy type of thing, right?
Understandable.
So that's a different story, but it is almost impossible to get anything in there. So when these guys even have the money, when they have the weapons, They're not sophisticated weapons. Otherwise, you would have seen fighter jets going into Israel on October 7th. Not fucking kites and shit. Not fucking paragliders with fucking fans on the back of them, like oscillating fans on the back of them and shit like that. You wouldn't have seen that kind of bullshit. You would have seen people in there with like a matching uniform. But these guys are wearing t-shirts. They all just have like a little headband. That's the only thing that they can do. Like, it's not like you can get fucking Printify to come send you anything over there. Like, they don't have Staples Business fucking Depot or like these, like, you know, like, oh my God. So it is a joke to think that these guys have billions and billions of dollars and that they're just living a lavish life. They are resisting their condition. You can either just have babies up in this cage and deal with Israel mowing the lawn. And please do look up that term. It's when Israel's like, hey, we haven't fucked them up in a while. Let's just go in there and kill a bunch of people. Let them know we're still in charge. So you can either just live in this fucking cage that Israel has built for you with the wall and everything and just wait until you have submitted yourself and denigrated yourself enough for them to accept that you're no longer a threat to them, because that's all that comes down to. It comes down to the feelings of Israelis, right? Not the facts on the ground for Palestinians, but the internal feelings of Israelis, right? Oh, do I feel safe? Do I feel like you really mean it? Because there are times that people have agreed to peace processes and Israel was like, oh, but we don't know if he really means it. He said yes. Okay, he said, I take the deal. Oh, but we don't know if it's really coming from his heart. So that's what it comes that's what it comes down to. You know, while I'm paused, another thing I wanted to mention, okay, this fucking thing about you know what? I can wait.
And his kids and so on. And there's a load of money next to him.
A lot of money?
There was a huge pile of cash next to where he was supposed to be sleeping. When you see that, do you not think that he betrayed his own people?
No.
That they weren't able to use these tunnels, the Palestinians.
Well,
he knew when he activated October the 7th and ordered it, what the reaction was likely to be. He was sentencing to death immediately thousands of his own people, none of whom were allowed, apart from the Hamas elements, to use the tunnel system. I mean, is that not a sickening betrayal of his people?
Well, let's talk about the billions of dollars that were that was actually used. I remember a report by Ben Shapiro, and he brought like videos of Hamas digging up tubes, water pipes, and then it's like, and they're using them as weapons. And they said like, these are the money that was given to them by the EU, and they squandered, they took the money. But the thing is, what Ben Shapiro didn't say, that he stole that report from Al Jazeera. He removed the narration, and what the narration was said that this was actually pipes that was installed by the Israelis in order to steal the money from Gaza.
Okay,
so there's a lot of lying in the thing.
I don't dispute this line, but you can't dispute, Bassem, is that clearly since 2005,
Just
Hamas has
interrupting
spent
him when
a
he gets
fortune
hit with facts.
of money they could have spent differently with their people. They spent it on this sophisticated and extensive tunnel system.
The tunnel system that is bigger than the New York subway system,
It would appear so.
450 miles.
I don't know. Do you know how big it is?
450. I mean,
You know?
nobody. I think if there's 450 miles underneath the tunnel, we have seen droves and droves of tunnels. What?
And just to make it clear for the viewers, it's 25 miles long. The entire Gaza Strip is 25 miles long, 41 kilometers, and 5 or 6 miles at best wide. And they're saying there are 450 miles of tunnels underneath this 25 by 5 strip of land.
Americans have never been good at math.
Okay, how long has Gaza existed? Like 50 years or some shit like that since the Nakba, or 70 years? How long did it take New York to build their tunnel system? How the fuck did they build all that tunnel system in 50 years, blocked by every single thing that's going on? How?
Because obviously their ancestors were Hamas.
Their ancestors were obviously the fucking badger molds from Avatar Last
yeah,
Airbender.
yeah.
What we have seen is small rooms. It's a very, very.
So you don't believe that there is
No,
a
I
big
don't. No,
tunnel?
I don't believe. Of course, there are tons, but I don't believe that there are like 450 miles, because that's ridiculous. If you want to understand, you tell me that Hamas under siege were able to build a subway system bigger than New York in less than 15 years. I don't think.
Did they serve their people, though, with how they spent their money?
I'm not sure. I don't know. And the thing is, like, there's a lot of propaganda. I don't know how much they spend on themselves. I don't know how much they spend on the tunnels. I don't know how much they spend on the people. But the thing is, these are all side talks. The main talk is the daily killing that's happening all through. Like, I mean, yeah, they could be bad people. They could be horrible people. They could be corrupt people.
Could be or are.
They are. Okay, they are horrible. They are vampires. They're zombies.
Do you believe that, or are you just saying that for performative reasons?
No, I'm saying that because, again, I don't want to go and find the FBI at my door.
But I'd rather you're honest. I mean, surely we're at the stage of this war now, a year on, where I can find a lot to criticize with.
Piers Morgan's telling this guy to be honest, while he knows right now that there's a fucking English journalist named Asa who is going to get mentioned towards the end of this video, whose life is getting turned upside down right now for doing nothing other than covering the fucking news.
Netanyahu and his government. And I can find a lot to criticize with Hamas, with Hezbollah, with Iran. I can find a lot to criticize all over the place. I think as part of the problem is it's just an extraordinary mess with a lot of people who've been behaving badly. In my opinion, betraying their people and making it almost impossible to come together for peace.
So basically, we punish the Palestinians for being betrayed by Hamas, and we punish the Palestinians again by letting them get
Well,
slaughtered every day.
you punish the Palestinians in the sense that you're exacting retaliation for a heinous terror attack on your people. That's
Well,
what the Israelis say.
Fine. Okay.
That's what the Israelis say. This guy just
Should they
said
not have
everything
responded?
Israel's going to say.
Who, Israel?
Yeah. On October the 8th, should they
He
have
has
responded to me to do
playbook.
nothing?
Oh, it's the question of like, what would I have done, right? Which is like one of the craziest questions ever. It's like, what would I have done? What would I have done if I magically got teleported into the body of a
What should they have
serial
done?
killer? Again, this is asking after the fact, Piers.
What do you think now, looking back? What would have been a better course of action? Their argument, Israel, is they went after Hamas. They've just taken out the leader of Hamas, who was literally amongst people in Rafah, which was a refugee camp area. That's where he was hiding, and they killed him there. They say that justifies them going into Rafah. It's an arguable point, obviously, but you can't deny that Sinwar.
When people were begging them not to go into Rafah, that was because it was supposed to be one of the safe zones, quote unquote. But since then, Rafah has been invaded, destroyed, bombed, burned, and it's no longer the place that it was promised to be before. So bringing up the fact that he was in Rafah as if to say that he was hiding amongst fucking civilians, fuck you, Piers Morgan. There is not a place that has not been evacuated, including Rafah, by the Israelis, okay? So they have already said that they're going to go into Rafah for fighting. So if Israel has said that they're going to go into Rafah for fighting, and this guy's on the front lines fighting, why wouldn't he also be in Rafah?
I'd also like to point out that what was the name of the book that Ellen Pape and Noam Chomsky book?
Shit.
Okay, we'll note it down in the comments. But in the book that we read, since we've been doing a lot of reading on Palestine, this was actually a plan that was laid out in 2015. This is not a new plan.
Oh, the book is literally just called on Palestine. This is
Oh,
it right
perfect. On Palestine.
Yeah.
And the book literally discusses Israel's plan, step by step, of taking over territory within Palestine, spreading out to Syria, Lebanon, and Iran. And
Iraq.
like
Yeah,
I said,
it's called Greater Israel
yeah, and like I said,
and Jordan.
2015.
These guys bring the Greater Israel map to the fucking UN, and people still have the nerve to wonder about the credibility of Israel's word. How dare you show me a map where my entire country is gone and it's covered up by your country, and then you have the nerve to come up there and say, I'm talking about self-defense and peace. You want to paint Muslim people in that region as religious fanatics without
absolutely.
discussing the fact that you're using your religious fanaticism to take over all of the fucking countries around you because your God told you that it's yours. Never mind that it's not my God or his God or her God or the fucking people who don't even believe in God. Like, I mean, just go. Let me hit play. Let me hit play.
Was hiding there. They also say that all of what they in Rafah, which was a refugee.
And he's gonna do this the whole fucking thing, the little rat piece of shit motherfucker. Oh, and he was hiding there. He was hiding there, like just adding it in a way that Bassem can't really fucking refute. Fuck you, Piers.
This question ever. Like, what would I have done?
They've just taken out the leader of Hamas, who was literally amongst people in Rafah, which was a refugee camp area. That's where he was hiding, and they killed him there. They say that justifies them going into Rafah. It's an arguable point, obviously, but you can't deny that Sinwar was hiding
Israel doesn't
there.
have to be
They
here
also
because
say
this
that
guy's
all of
just
what
going
they've
to
been
read all
doing
their points off for
is
them.
a response to what happened to their people, and that they have to stop the group that did that from doing it again, which they're wedded to doing.
So what is their proportionate response?
Well, that's been the question I've asked for a year.
Yeah, but like, you know,
And I don't know the answer.
that question kind of lost its validity after 1 month of the war.
Well, I think you say, for
Thank
example,
you.
you've been critical of me saying, I only do what I do because I'm after clicks, I'm after...
I never said that about you.
You did.
No.
No, you did.
When?
We found it.
It's
When?
fucking
Let me find that
true.
clip. Where is it?
Where is it? Oh,
No, it's an interview. Where is it?
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, yes, you said this.
Yeah, yeah.
You said at the Arab Media Forum in June. I don't know why people care that Piers Morgan changes his opinion.
Yes.
He's a man who seeks trends and increasing viewership.
Yes.
True. As he hosts people and sits with them to raise viewership numbers. Yes. His opinion is important at all because he only cares about what is trending and what people will talk about. So it doesn't matter that he changed his opinion. Piers is a man who has a media platform on which we appear to convey our ideas to his viewers, nothing more.
And there's nothing wrong with that. By the way, that's your job, actually, to get clicks and views.
No,
Because
but-
the question I was asked is, what do you think of
But the
Piers?
implication of
Does he change your mind? And I said, like, I don't care about him changing.
I understand that,
because that's your job.
but the implication of what you were saying was that that's all I care about. And I don't actually care about what I genuinely care about, which is trying to work out what the world should think about this. What is the correct proportionate response from either side to any of the things
How
that
are
have
you gonna
happened.
get the world
And
to think
it is,
about it
I
when
think
you
it is
can't even
morally
decide how
complex.
you feel about it?
You find it morally
Say that again?
more straightforward.
How is he
I
going to
find
get
it
the
complicated.
world to think about this and find a solution when you can't even decide what your perspective is?
And how do you even have a question about the fucking solution when you're seeing what's going on? Why does Israel get the benefit of the doubt from this guy?
Because someone is signing his paychecks.
Could be anything. Could literally be anything. Could be...
Yeah,
Any
just
number of
literally
things.
any number of things.
And I've wrestled with how I should think about this. I've gone on a bit of a journey. Now, it doesn't mean that,
Been
for example,
wrestling for the
I would
last
find
year,
common
yeah.
ground with you about the way the Palestinian people have been treated for many decades. I do think it's been a form of occupation. I do
A
think,
form of?
Yeah.
Not an occupation.
Well,
Not a full-blown occupation.
As I said to Israelis when they come on, I don't know how you can argue, but it's an occupation. I know you moved out in 2005, but the reality is once this war started,
They didn't move out.
Well, once they formally moved out.
You basically,
But they kept
you went
control.
out of the room and you locked the room and you basically controlled the perimeter of the
I
room.
was about to say, after October the 8th, when they began to turn off the water supply, the food supply, the power, and so on, it was quite clear they still wield power.
But that was going on since 2006.
No, I understand.
That
but
never
what-
stopped.
So I'm agreeing with you.
You know what
I'm
those wise...
agreeing with you.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, clearly that is a form of occupation. Otherwise, it wouldn't have
It is an
power to do it.
occupation.
Okay,
Form.
yeah. I mean, look,
It's like, say, like it's a form of terrorism.
okay, I take that point.
Yeah.
Let's call it an occupation. And it has to end. And in my view, I've always hoped and believed there should be a two-state solution. Do you believe that is even remotely achievable now?
I don't know, because the thing is, you created a mess. You completely destroyed all kinds of...
We say me. What do you mean?
No,
me?
not you. Not you.
Right.
I mean, like you as...
Don't look at me when you say that. I'm not creating any mess.
Like
I'm
you
calling it
created a
out.
mess as like you as the stronger part in the conflict. The thing is, it is very, it's very disappointing to see. I know that you mean well, but you are trying to two-sided. I
Yeah.
find this is no, but one.
There are two sides.
No, yes, but one side of
You're too one-sided. And understand why.
Okay.
You know, your wife has family in Gaza. I get it, right? You're going to be one-sided.
this is a
That's why I
moral
asked you at the start of the
issue.
interview.
This is
When you look back over since 1948, do you find
human
anything
nature not
to
to-
criticize on your
is
side?
genociding
And your
Right,
inability to
exactly.
articulate any response to that makes me think you are too one-sided. Do you accept that?
If I met Mike Tyson on the streets and I kicked him, and he responded by kicking me in the face, killing me, yes, I did. But like he has a lethal weapon, his hands.
Yeah.
Israel is 1,000 times stronger, and they have the whole of the support, all of the money.
But here's my analogy for you with the Mike Tyson thing. If you had taken thousands of people and you'd gone to Mike Tyson's house and you committed atrocities on his extended family and friends, raping
That's
them and
in
killing
no
them
way
and
the
leaving
same
people alive.
situation.
Well, I know you don't believe there was any sexual
No, I don't
abuse.
believe.
Well, there was sexual abuse.
We can talk about that.
Well, we will come to that, but I think it's inarguable. It's been investigated by the United Nations.
Have
Established
you
by
read the
journalists.
report?
Well, I've had journalists who I respect more than any in the world.
Have you
like
read the report?
There is indisputable evidence of sexual abuse.
Okay, let's talk about that when it comes.
We will.
There
Really
isn't,
different, I'm sure,
actually.
but my point is, I believe it has
There's
been
not one
established. But
fucking
putting aside that,
name,
you don't
not-
dispute
not
people were
one
killed.
person
You don't
they
dispute
can
people were
point
set on
to.
fire.
There's actually
You don't dispute
proof
any
that
of the
there
stuff after
wasn't.
October 7th that we saw through Hamas's own cameras, right?
Yeah,
You don't dispute what we saw with our own eyes.
I know what I've shown, and of course, like, and as a matter
It
of
was
fact,
not
I've seen
raped
many
on the
of them. Yes,
cameras,
it's
bro.
terrible.
Otherwise, we would have
But
seen
my
that
point is,
video
if you did
playing
all that to Mike
nonstop.
Tyson's family, and then he...
But I'm not gonna be
Hang on.
It's a one-to-one man. It's not
Hang on.
1,000
But
to
if you
1.
did all that and then he punched you in the face and killed you,
Yeah.
would you feel that was justified?
No, but the thing is,
No?
sir, you're trying to.
You would,
You're trying to.
Well, I'm throwing your analogy back at you.
You're trying to. No, that's not the wrong. I'm saying like me and Mike Tyson, man to man, is much stronger than me. I'm not going to show up with like 1,000 person. So if you want to do the analogy, you need to modify the analogy again. And the thing is, I think it's like we always ask what Israel should do, but we never ask what should the Palestinians do. Because I mean, I know that there's like really great examples. I mean, there are some peaceful examples. There's a beautiful boy called Mido. He's 19 years old. He's an exchange student in Texas, and he was moved from one safe zone to the other, and he ended up into a safe zone. And he was farming. He had a beautiful, beautiful garden, and he was farming, and he was blogging about it. His mom died because of lack of medicine, but he continued to farm. And you know what happened to him? He was killed in an airstrike. You asked me about the Nelson Mandela, and there's a woman called Ahmed Abu Trema. He was inspired by the civil rights movements and the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa, and he toured the churches and the schools and the colleges in the United States, and he came back, and Israel hit him in an airstrike, killing 5 of his family, including his son, and he was injured. If Palestinians march, they get killed. If they throw a stone at a tank, they get killed. If they sit at home quietly, someone will come in and take their home away and they kill them. If someone just like picking up olives, they will kill them. So what would that? And I don't know, like,
But it sounds to me like what you're doing, you're constructing...
that's like I'm justifying October 7th.
And when he says the olive thing, that's not a fucking joke. Right now, as we speak, today, October 26th, we are in the middle of the olive harvest season in Palestine. And these guys are getting picked off one by one for no fucking reason when they go out there to pick olives on their own goddamn land.
No, I'm going to put words in your mouth, but it sounds to me like you're saying, what else did you expect?
Yeah, what else do you accept? If you treat people like animals, they will behave like animals. Please.
Do you accept they behave like animals?
Yeah, some of them did. Yes, some of them did. Like, yeah,
I mean, there were
shooting-
3,000 of them.
Yeah. Well,
Entering
yes.
a 13 different point.
So he's not going to say, do you accept that they were treated like animals? Nothing. Do you accept that they behaved like
Behave
animals?
like animals,
He
yeah.
has to get a fucking anti-Palestine soundbite out of this guy. What a fucking piece of shit. How is it that you're going to tell them that they're behaving like animals after they're being starved,
What is Israel
beaten,
doing?
kidnapped, raped? You're basically saying that the wife or the partner who raises a hand against their abuser is acting like an animal.
Precisely.
That's exactly what you're saying.
How dare you stand up for yourself when I'm trying to beat the ever-loving shit out of you?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Stay down.
Should she have done that? What are other things that she could have done? That's what you're saying.
So 13,000, 3,000.
3,000 Hamas, a 13 entry
So
point.
for that, you kill 50,000 people.
Well, they killed 1,200 people. They kidnapped over...
No. I said like Israelis for that they killed 50,000.
Well, hang on. I'm about to give you the numbers as we now believe them. So 1,200 people were killed, of which 400 were believed to be military. Then you had nearly 7,000 more people who were wounded, many of them irrevocably badly. You had over 250 people kidnapped, including a baby who's never been returned, Holocaust survivors, grandparents, and so on. And my question is really, I'm not sure what you would have expected Israel to do, but more pertinently, what should they have done?
Palestine
Well,
to do?
I don't know, Piers, because
So you've got to have some idea. You can't just say what you did is wrong.
Yeah.
You've got to have a thing of, given what happened to them, given that huge blow to their country and to their people, given that Hamas said we're going to keep doing this to you, what should Israel have done?
well, let's new Gaza, right?
Hamas says, I'm going to keep doing this to you. Israel actually keeps doing this shit to them. Can we just talk?
I mean, that's like
They
they have dropped
They could have
bombs.
done.
Yeah,
My argument to those who say it's genocide is, if they'd wanted to, Israel has the ability to blow up the whole of Gaza now. They haven't done that.
So
If you really are genocidal, why wouldn't you do that?
but
If
there's a
people are
reason
still
they
around, it's
haven't
not a
done
genocide.
that.
If monkeys are still alive, how there's no?
Well, you have 2 million people residing in Gaza, of which over 42,000 have been killed.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So what's
Is that genocide after a year?
So what's the threshold?
Well, it's not. My point is that if you're waging genocide, Israel has the capability to kill all 2 million people very
How
quickly.
about too much killing? Is that good?
I think there has been too much killing.
How about extreme
I don't think it's a
discrimination of life?
I don't think it's a
I mean, if you don't
genocide.
like the G word, we can.
Yeah, but I don't think it's genocide, is it?
We're wasting our time in definitions.
What is, well, we're not, because it's important, because what is genocidal is what Hamas has said they want to do to Israel.
What did they say to do?
They want to eradicate Israel.
Is according to the charter?
Yes.
Which charter?
Well, their original charter said that.
And then what happened in 2017?
Well, I'd rather go
Thank
forward to
you.
what happened.
No, but what happened?
No, hang on.
Like you've been.
I'd rather
because
skip
I know they
over
rewrote
the
the charter.
Yeah, but why don't you say
Fuck
that?
yeah.
Because it's
This is
overtaken by
what I
what happened on
want.
October the 7th.
So
No,
that's-
but
this is
because,
what
Bassem, because
I mean, you keep telling people
Hang
like
on.
it's the status quo. And then what happened in 2017?
well, I'd rather go forward to what happened.
No,
on,
but what happened?
No, hang on.
Like you've been because you're.
I know they
using this-
rewrote the charter.
Yeah,
This
but
is
why don't
gold.
you say
This
that?
is-
What did
I
they say?
love
They want to
seeing this
eradicate
part.
Israel.
Is according to the charter?
Yes.
Which charter?
Well, their original charter said that.
And then what happened in 2017?
Well, I'd rather go forward to what happened.
No,
on,
but what happened?
No, hang on.
Like you've been because you're.
I know they
using
rewrote the
this-
charter.
Yeah, but why don't you say that?
Because it's overtaken by what
Because I'm a fucking liar and I'm being paid by Israel. Don't you understand that, Bassem?
happened on October the 7th.
So it doesn't
no,
count?
because Bassem, because
I mean, you keep telling people
hang
like
on.
it's the status quo.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying their original charter stated eradication of Israel.
no.
And the Hamas
Shut up.
spokesman said after October the 7th, we want to keep doing this again and again and again. He said it on camera. That is an existential threat to all Israelis.
Well, there's a lot of
So a group that is being starved, trapped behind a wall, can't leave. You control their population registry. You control all the fucking work they're allowed to do. That's an existential threat to you. And Israel is not an existential threat to them. The framing of this is so maddening. The more you learn about this, the fucking more unacceptable Pierce's attitude, language, and framing becomes. This guy seriously Okay. Let's keep going.
horrible things that Israelis say on camera, Piers. But the only
I agree.
But the only difference is
And I
that
criticize them
Israel acts on it and they have the power to do it.
But I've already
At
told
the
you
end
that I
of the-
believe that Ben-Gvir and Smodrich have used
It's not
genocidal
just
language.
them, Piers. It's not just them. And you know it's not just
No,
them.
I accept that,
It's a whole apparatus,
they're
it's a
the
whole
two,
system.
they're the two worst offenders
Yeah,
in the
but
government.
the rest of the government is terrible.
Yeah, so my question is again, and I think it's an important one, is I get that you don't think they should have done this the way they've done it, Israel. But given they had to respond, how
Israel-
should they have responded?
Israel
Because
had-
when they responded in a more precision way, and we can come to you, I know you don't agree with me about this, but I think you criticised Bill Maher for saying that what they did with Hezbollah was military success. Well, indisputably, from a military perspective, it was successful. They managed to be very precise in targeting 3,000 members of Hezbollah at the same time through pages.
At the
As an
same
active
time, murdering
military
a bunch
strategy,
of
it was very
civilians.
effective. It did kill a lot of civilians as well.
Yeah,
And that is
that's
obviously...
too bad.
No, it is too bad. All civilian death is too bad. But my point is, if they had done that strategy in Gaza, where they had gone after Hamas through pages or whatever,
My bad,
I still
yeah.
think you would have
Just rewind a little bit.
It did kill a lot of civilians as well.
Yeah,
And that is
that's
obviously...
too bad.
No, it is too bad. All civilian death is too bad. But my point is, if they had done that strategy in Gaza, where they had gone after Hamas through pages or whatever, I still think you would have said it was wrong.
Israel is the strongest part in this, and they have unlimited supply of money and power.
Yeah.
And as you say in superhero movies, with great power there's great responsibility. And the whole idea of like how could they respond, and then we sit there discussing this while Israel actually responding on a daily basis. By the time we finish this interview,
It's a valid question, isn't it? It's a valid question about how you think they should have done it differently. Or you think they should have done nothing.
No, I didn't say that they said nothing. But
So if you assume they had to-
Israel has the technology and the ability to do more surgical attacks than this. But to decimate a whole region, displacing 100% of the population, I don't think we.
I think it's wrong.
Good.
I agree with you.
Good.
I do.
Good. Now, it's not on me to decide to Israel what to do. Maybe Israel could check with itself and see what had led to that. Yes, what happened is terrible, but they need to discuss. But the thing is, there's a roadblock between us, Piers, because it seems that we are far apart of actually what happened on October 7th. And I know there's a lot of people here came and talk about what happened on October 7th. I would like to have a chance to tell you what, from my point of view, what me and my people think. And
Go on, tell me what you think
so there are three big things that made the world accept what is happening now in Palestine. And they talk like, what will happen now? How we get it? Three things. The story of the decapitated babies.
That was not true.
Yep.
Good. So why didn't the Western media refute it? Why didn't they?
Well, it was
pull
refuted
back?
very quickly.
Really?
No, was it? Oh my
But
God,
very
a
quickly.
How many,
fucking
times,
liar.
how many times the Western media has used that media? Until today, Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, is still repeating it. Until now,
Well,
Benjamin
it's not
Netanyahu.
true.
I know, but it was.
But it has been discounted by the media.
No, not really.
It has.
Not really.
Not really.
Not really. Not really. And it didn't. And in the discounting and refuting, and I think when you have an apology or a retraction, it has to be.
Yeah, but I was accused of saying it. I never said it.
You said.
No, I didn't say it.
You said. It came to me as a revelation that I read about 40 murdered babies. Some of them are decapitated.
Yeah, maybe not. Yeah.
You said
Which
that.
were early reports.
With John Collins.
Yeah.
Right.
Which were early reports.
I understand.
Which turned out not to be true.
I know, but like
Right.
this, but you understand the shock, the initial shock that made the public turn a blind eye of what's happening. Because like, I mean, if I was like a European, it's like, oh my
But
God.
I would throw back at you, Bassem, this. I don't know if you've seen all the GoPro camera footage from Hamas that they broadcast to the world, but I have seen a lot of it.
Me
now.
too.
Look how
And
quickly he
haven't
wants
seen
to
it.
move
I
away
think
from the
splitting
fucking
hairs,
things
which is what I
that
would call it,
implicate
over the
him.
nature of the depravity.
He knows that he did not refute this with the same kind of chest and energy in which he fucking blurted out all of those goddamn fucking propaganda Hasbara lies about the babies. And you know what? This would have been a fucking sensational story, wouldn't it? That a fucking Israeli company, Zaka, came out and just that guy was on. Let me get the fucking video up. Hold on a second here.
Given the way that
let me get the Zaka guy was bawling his eyes out. Okay, I walked into a room, and there they were, 40 babies. Oh dear. Here he
To
is.
take children and chopping off the heads. His head was chopped off.
That's him right
Cutting babies'
outside.
heads off.
Community.
I want to see, like, this guy gave so many details. Look at him. He's here crying.
Exactly what happened on October.
Children, a boy and a girl, hands tied in the back. They were tortured, both of them.
A recent
2 children, boy and a girl, hands tied behind their back, tortured. So you mean to tell me that you paraded this guy around all over the news? He was telling these outrageous stories, and the whole thing about repeated, like, oh yeah, it was wrong, let's move on. But other bad things happened. Other bad things. This is deranged. This is fucking crazy and deranged. Let me give you some more examples. Because this guy went on and on. He was ready and willing to give... Swear to God. Or weapons of mass destruction. Look at him.
part
That's the president.
of Israel's propaganda machine.
That's him with the fucking president of Israel.
The government of Israel sees
Here he is again.
It's indescribable. It's indescribable, and I won't describe everything that I saw. This is burned to death.
Is a different account to Sky News of what happened at the same house.
And you're talking children, 2 piles of 10 children each were tied to the back, burned to death.
Did you hear what he said? 2 piles of 10 children each, tied up and burnt. So the thing about having an open... Well, like, yeah, he's seeing, like, they're burnt, but not, like, charred to a crisp. They didn't exist. The places that he's talking about, one of the main places where he said that they found the a bunch of these children is Kibbutz Be'eri, which is one of the kibbutz that is closest to the wall, to Gaza's wall. There were no even family groupings like the ones he described, right? So if he said, oh, it was a family of, like, twins and this, there were none. There were no twins up in there. There were no families with the amount of kids that he was talking about. And the one of the things that Israel has to do when it's pretending to be a modern open society is that your medical and criminal records you're able to look them up. Okay, so Israeli journalists who are not Zionists, just Jews who are doing the fucking damn work of the gods, okay, went and looked up for the records, the police reports, the hospital reports, everything after the October 7th Al-Aqsa flood attack. And not like public as in you can look up who is in there for what, but you can see who died, like how many people have died and those type of things, right? So they looked into that. And they found that 2 children died, 1 under the age of 10 and 1 was a baby who died, I think, during a C-section delivery. It's unacceptable that babies died. It's unacceptable that any civilians died. We're not talking about the validity. We're not talking to say that Hamas didn't do some savage, unspeakable things. What we're saying is that this level of specificity of, oh, this guy is on the scene, okay? He's not someone who's like, I heard from. He's saying, I went into the room, me. I go into the room and I see these bodies, and this guy gets paraded around everywhere, Zaka. And then we find out afterwards, Zaka, the company that he works for, was under investigation in Israel, was owing so much fucking money, was about to go bankrupt, was riddled with corruption. And now they are the ones who come out for Netanyahu's Likud fucking sick satanic government to push all this propaganda. And when you go back now, a year later, where people have already bought into this and expressed their remorse and their sadness, and you've already extracted all this consent from people, you want to be like, oh yeah, I guess it didn't happen, moving right along. That doesn't matter anymore. You understand? You have to refute it. Why isn't this a sensational story? This is a huge lie pushed by people at the highest level of government. Biden said he saw these fucking babies. Joe Biden said he saw these fucking babies with his eyes. What? So this, if I were a newscaster, a reporter, this would be sensational news. But it wasn't. It was a my bad.
They openly boasted and gleefully conducted so much depravity. I just think it's a bit pointless. It's like, what's the point? What you're trying to say is, yes, they were barbaric. Yes, they were disgusting. They may not have done this precise thing, so therefore...
Gleefully boasting would be the fucking IOF fucking perverts who are in lingerie boasting. That's what I would call boasting. These guys recorded what they were doing.
I give them a pass.
But no, but that matters. I know what, because if I came here on your show and I told you 5 million children were slaughtered in Gaza, what would you tell me, Piers? You said, no, there are only 16 or 17,000 people. Because facts matter. Yeah. Because here's the difference between...
I told you I agree with you.
But here's the thing. The difference between killing children and decapitating babies, the image of decapitating a baby, that makes his
But kidnapping a baby is okay.
Never.
But they kidnapped a baby.
You see, you're coming down to, you're coming back to... like.
No, I'm saying, what's the difference?
Yeah, that's all. What do you mean what the fucking
difference
difference
is?
is?
Take it away from its family.
And but you decapitate 40 babies? That's terrible, right? I mean, the thing is, both of them are terrible.
You're trying to, if you don't mind me saying, what you're trying to do is say, well, they weren't quite as medievally barbaric as that, but they did do this, and that's not as bad. And I'm saying to you, actually, it is as bad.
Yeah, one person killed, one person kidnapped.
And they did behead people.
Where?
On October the 7th.
When?
Multiple reports of beheadings.
Babies?
I didn't say babies. I said
No,
they did
they
beheadings.
didn't.
Why would they?
Again,
an adult
the
person
cause of
like
death for all these
how
people
many
is
decapitated
listed.
babies Palestinians have you seen already on television?
Yeah, way too many.
Yes. Again,
I can say both are disgusting. Can you?
Yes.
You do?
Of course.
Do you accept people were beheaded?
But again, media.
Do you accept people were beheaded on October the 7th?
I haven't seen anyone beheaded.
So no evidence of any...
I've never seen it.
What do you think
Who was
happened
beheaded?
to
Give
all
me
these
their
people?
name.
They were shot point blank. They were...
Who was beheaded?
None were beheaded. You don't believe those reports?
I don't believe them, yeah.
Come on.
But like even in one or two, it's terrible, of course. But like, okay, you go in... I mean, I don't understand. Like, my point is, Piers, is that on October 7th, there's a lot of very, very sensational report that made people turn a blind eye of what's going on in Gaza. One of them is the beheaded babies, right?
But that was discounted so quickly.
No.
It was, I remember.
Well, so why is Mike Johnson still doing it and saying it like...
I've not seen him do that, but if he is, he's wrong.
Yeah, but many of them still, that is actually the narrative. That's the narrative. That's how
I've not seen anyone in official...
So that's one thing. This is the decapitated. But the second thing, the Hannibal Directive. Loki sat here in my chair, and you talked to him, and you said, you read a piece of heart saying that investigation of the IDF ordered Hannibal Directive to be used, adding that they didn't know how many soldiers were killed. But it was used. And then 2 minutes later, he said, like, there's a lot of documentation. And he said, like, I just read it to you. It's never happened. No, it happened, Piers. Now, in the same report that you quoted...
I did later in the interview tell him that I knew that there had been reports in Haaretz that had happened.
Yes, and there is another...
But just to be clear, that's not been admitted by the Israeli government.
Yeah, well,
I'm not saying it didn't happen.
They're liars.
Yeah, but I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying I did say to Loki that there is reporting in Haaretz, which is one of the big Israeli media publications, that it had happened and that order had been given. It has been unequivocally denied by Israel.
Yeah,
that's my point.
I know.
But my point about
by
what Hamas
the
did is...
people who brought you the fucking calendar in the basement that was supposed to be a Hamas murder schedule or some shit. Those people are denying it. From the people who shot Shireen Abu Akleh in the fucking neck, those people are denying it. The people who listened to Hind Rajab on a phone while she got shot up hundreds of times in a car, those people are denying it. The people arguing whether or not it's okay to sodomize people legally if they're in prison, now that they've been caught, Lord knows how long they've been doing it, probably for years, probably since the beginning. They're the ones who are now talking about, oh, I'm denying something. Why does it matter? Why is the word of the Israeli government sacrosanct, but if Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran says something, forget about it. It doesn't really matter. We can't trust their sincerity. Why? Israel has shown their ass so many times. They are terrorists.
Talking to about a Muslim nation, they're automatically just going to be labeled as terrorists. There's no such thing as...
They're not even trying to hide it anymore. It's so frustrating. Israel lies more than they speak. I don't even know how that's real, but and then you have governments who are out here putting a sincere effort. And I'm not speaking like, oh, Iran's so good. No, but we're talking specifically about what's going on here. You have governments who are putting in a sincere effort into ending the suffering of millions of civilians in Gaza and West Bank. And you want to doubt their morality, their sincerity by using content or material like their old charter. And then you want to that the Hamas charter from the beginning, yes, had a bunch of anti-Semitic, like Israel ending stuff in there, but you have to understand where that was coming from. They were being taken over. If it was China over there, it would have had a bunch of anti-Chinese things. Okay, like it's not, but that charter is not in use anymore. But Piers will never let you know that. That's what Bassem called him out on earlier. But the Likud charter that's active today talks all that river to sea shit, and he never wants to talk about that. So why is that not an existential threat?
Almost all of it is indisputable because they gleefully broadcast it to the world. These things are not up for debate. They went house to house.
I never denied it, and I'm not defending it.
So trying to equivocate with
I'm not equivocating.
the scale of the barbarity.
No, the scale is important. The scale is important because if you came into the first of all, the original number was 1,400. It was down now to 1,200, and then down to 1,129. That is the final official number. One baby was killed, Mila Cohen, 10 months old,
and one kidnapped.
One kidnapped.
Right.
All right. And 12 kids were killed between the age of 1 to 9, and 36 were killed between 9.
But you don't believe that any women were sexually abused?
Okay, let's talk about that.
Yeah,
but before that, I just want to mention something about because that's important. This is the pictures. You know this picture, right?
Is this burnt out cars after October?
Yes. Okay. This is the print. All right. And then we should believe that Hamas went in with AK-47 and caused that kind of damage.
Have you seen the footage of them actually going car by car doing that kind of thing?
Yeah, but they didn't. This is burned and destroyed.
How do you know how many they did?
Does this look like AK-47 thing?
It looks like a bunch of cars have been set on fire, yeah.
Yeah, set on fire. Okay, and then if you, I know...
What's your argument that Israelis did all that themselves?
This is pictures for something called the Highway of Death from Iraq. Mm-hmm. This is the same thing. This is Apaches. These are Apaches, right? So this is actually cars.
Right, but have you seen the footage of Hamas going car to car?
Yeah, killing them with machine guns.
And setting fire to the cars?
Yeah, but that is not the...
How are you going to burn cars like that? How are you going to burn them so that they have a fucking giant dent in the top of them? Like, look at this thing. He's saying that this is from Iraq and this is Israel, and he's saying that he's pointing at like, oh look, they had AK-47s and they lit cars on fire, so that's how cars look. Look at how they're concaved in the top, bro. This is something shooting you from the top. Are you crazy? And now he's showing that Piers, man, I can't stand this guy anymore.
Right, but have you seen the footage of Hamas going car to car?
Yeah, killing them with machine guns.
And setting fire to the cars?
Yeah, but that is not the...
Actually, that is exactly how they look.
that is like a car of an Apache. These are the Apaches.
Well, it's also the look of a car that's been set on fire.
Yeah, but that doesn't cause...
You're just surmising. You're guessing.
No, I'm not guessing.
Why are you trying to excuse what Hamas did?
One of them is...
Why don't you excuse what Hamas did?
Right. I'm talking about facts.
Well, these aren't facts. This is just you saying, look at these pictures, look at those.
At least... Have
you seen many burned out cars in your life? Because I have.
Really? And I have too. In the revolution, I had many. Yeah, but that's...
And they didn't look like that?
But this is Apaches.
Or it's burnt out cars.
So many cars with that.
Yeah, there were a lot. They went car to car to car.
Yeah,
they were literally stopping cars and killing people and burning them.
Interesting, yes.
But why wouldn't you believe it? They wanted us to believe that. They wanted to show the world that.
Well, at least there is a shred of doubt.
Well, there's not really. What you're trying to do, Bassem, and I understand it, but what you're trying to do is you're trying to put a little protective shield up to what Hamas did. And my response is, I don't know why you would do that, because Hamas didn't want any protective shield to what they were doing. They were gleeful about it. They showed the world in live streaming exactly what they were doing. They were proud of their depravity. You don't need to defend it, or downgrade it, or diminish it, or reduce it.
I'm not talking.
Well, let's talk about your claim.
And thank you. And also, doesn't that make them terrorists? Why is there all this doubt for Israel, huh? Aren't they defending themselves? Don't you think they're defending themselves? Don't you think that they think that they're defending themselves? Or you think that they think that they think that they think that they think that shut up. And also, you don't see them beheading people in the videos, because we would have seen that clip played over and over and over and over and over and over again. He always wants to run away from any sort of valid point that Bassem makes. Yeah, because obviously it would go against the corporation and then he'd get fired. Fucking prick.
To defend it,
I'm not defending it,
downgrade it.
Downgrading it also matters because we have seen what upgrading this fucking thing has done. Haven't we? If I'm paying for fucking Uber, this premium YouTube, why the fuck am I seeing it's Pierce's stuff? I was gonna lose my shit.
diminish
No,
it
I'm talking
or
about
reduce
facts.
it.
I'm talking.
Well, let's
about
talk
facts.
about your claim that you don't think any women were sexually abused.
Yes. Well, the Times of London, which is a right-leaning newspaper, talked about the UN report, and they said Pramila Patten, who confirmed Israeli authorities
gotta
were
blow
unable
my
to
nose,
provide
I'm
much
still
of the
here,
evidence that political leaders had insisted existed in all the Hamas video footage Patten's team had watched and all the photographs they had seen. There were no depiction of rape. We hired a leading Israeli dark web researcher to look for evidence of those images, including footage deleted from public sources. None could be found. And Patten said the first letter that I received from the government of Israel talked about hundreds of thousands of cases of brutal sexual violence perpetrated against men, women, and children. I have not found anything of that. That is the UN report.
Well, the same UN Special Representative, Pramila Patten, reported in March 24 that there was, quotes, clear and convincing information that Israeli hostages in Gaza experienced sexual violence, including rape, sexualized torture, and cruel, inhumane, and degrading treatment. That there are reasonable grounds to believe such abuse is ongoing. And there was also, her quotes, reasonable grounds to believe that conflict-related sexual violence occurred during the 7th of October attacks in multiple locations across Gaza periphery, including rape and gang rape in at least 3 locations.
The same commission said has refused testimony obtained by journalists and the Israeli police. I mean, I'm reading the same report.
It's the same woman.
And I'm reading the same woman.
March 2024.
So,
My point is, you're reading selectively from that report.
And you're reading selectively too?
I'm reading a point which actually crystal clear that there was sexual abuse and violence both on October the 7th and indeed to hostages, which may be ongoing.
No, I've read the whole report. And then what you say...
Why haven't you read that?
I've read that. And I said...
If you read that, you would include that.
But if you read that, you would include that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the thing, you see what you're saying here? That
Well, no, you're just not reading that out.
Well, Piers, the thing is...
I
like,
have great respect for you, Bassem.
and
If
also-
you're going to use a woman's quotes to prove your point, you've got to use the rest of the quotes where she actually proves the opposite.
Yeah, but in the same report, they said that all of this was not provided by the Israeli, any forensic evidence that proved that. It's mostly witnesses that was provided
Clear
by
and
the...
convincing information. Reasonable grounds
So
to believe.
but there was no... It was written and there was
I've also
nothing.
read people like Christina Lamb, one of the best war correspondents in the world, who writes for the Sunday Times, who has done some stunning journalism with victims of this abuse, female victims of the sexual abuse and rape. I mean, are you saying she's just made that up? Is she lying? She's an award-winning journalist. Why would she?
Well, also Gettleman, Jeffrey Gettleman was award-winning journalist of the New York Times, who wrote the Screams Without Voices, or Screams Without Words. His article was completely panned by 60 journalists who said that article was a shame.
Are you saying that Christina Lamb just made her reporting up?
I don't know who's Christina Lamb.
You've never heard of her?
No.
Literally one of the top war correspondents in the world, renowned for her utter impartiality.
Yeah, but the thing is...
For a series of reports of women who were raped and abused by Hamas, and continue to be so, the hostages. You don't believe any of it? You think none of this happened?
No, I don't believe.
You see, I find that disheartening that you wouldn't believe that.
No, I don't believe it. And the thing
It makes me think, Bassem, that, and I listen, I say to you, I have great respect for you, but it makes me think you look at it through such a partisan prism that you can't, even when confronted with obvious
I just confronted you with the same reports.
Well, yeah, but you said,
I showed you had the Hannibal report.
But the point you're trying to make is, well, all these trials were obviously blown up by Israel. Hamas didn't do that to any of them. Hamas didn't rape or abuse any women. And it's all bullshit. Of course they did.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
You know it.
No,
in your heart, you know
I don't
that.
think so.
You don't want to concede an inch.
No.
And understand why, because you think that actually the bigger picture is that Israel behaved like this for so long towards the Palestinians with their occupation and apartheid.
But we never know. As a matter of fact, we have Israelis raping Palestinians on camera.
But you think it diminishes your argument if you give an inch to any of this stuff?
What
My
kind of inch you want me to give?
point to you, it would actually, I think it would strengthen you, not diminish you, if you were able to concede these things had happened, rather than try and defend it or try and excuse it or pretend it didn't happen.
This particular point, Piers, has been debated by so many people on both
The
sides.
woman you quoted, I've literally just read to you.
And
what
I've
she
just
said.
written some
You
for
didn't
you.
read out what she's
And you
actually
didn't
said
read
about
out mine. So that means that this is a very conflicting report at best. All right? And the thing is, many of those witnesses like Riz Cohen and Sherry Mendes, they have changed their testimonies many times, and they made their way all the way to Tapper, on his show, and he has been laundering the whole idea about the mass rape day after day. And nobody, even the New York Times, they were going to make a podcast, The Daily, about that article, and they withdrew because there's not enough evidence. Let's say I'm wrong. Let's say that all of that is wrong. Isn't that at least a shred of doubt that we should investigate this further? Because in that report, Pamela Patten said that we send 5 requests to the Israeli authorities and 1 request to the Palestinian authorities, and none of our requests to the Palestinian.
But as I read to you, she then goes on to say there's clear and convincing information of hostages, Israeli hostages, having sexual violence, including rape, sexualized torture.
And also the Commission was also unable to verify reports of sexualized torture and genital mutilation. In addition, the Commission found some specific allegations to be false, inaccurate, or contradictory with other evidence or statements and discounted these from its assessment.
But what is the central point of your argument is that Hamas are not quite as bad as we thought?
No, I don't care about Hamas. I care about the Palestinian people killed every day.
Hostages having sexual violence, including rape, sexualized torture.
And also the Commission was also unable to verify reports of sexualized torture and genital mutilation. In addition, the Commission found some specific allegations are not
as bad as we thought.
No.
That's my bad. I forgot to unmute when I came back. I paused it here because I really, really like that he's pointing out the selectiveness of Piers. And you can do that both ways. If you want to get selective and just present one person as one party, one group as the bad people, as the aggressors, as the evil ones, you can do that. And the case is a lot easier case to make for Israel to be the exclusive bad guys here. It's the case that a lot of people, myself, are so like... It's a toxic idea to just think like, I'm not even going to get into it.
You should.
No, I'm saying that, okay, what I'm saying is that what Israel is doing is making it so easy for people to buy into the fact that there is literally nothing wrong that the Palestinians have ever done, right? That it's making that idea so attractive because they're just so fucking evil. And because you see them blocking aid just as citizens, and you see how Israel is ready to punch an actual Jewish person with the whole beads down the side, who is an observant Orthodox Jew, ready to punch you in the face for saying anything about Palestinians, and those are Zionist Israelis, and their whole thing is falling apart.
No, I don't care about Hamas. I care about the Palestinian people killed every day.
How can you not care
even
about
Hamas?
Hamas?
You know what? Hamas is terrible, man. He's there a horrible rapist.
Should Hamas,
you know what? Hamas did everything.
Sorry,
Hamas did all of that.
Let me ask you,
Hamas did all of that.
Should
Should
Hamas retain any power coming out of this in Gaza?
I don't know if any of them will be left.
Should they retain power in principle?
It's up to the Palestinian people.
What do you think?
I don't know Hamas. By the way, I told you before, I'm not a big fan of Hamas. As a matter of fact, Hamas being an Islamic faction, I'm not a big fan of.
What about Hezbollah?
Same. I'm not a big fan of them either. But you should not punish a whole group of people, our population, because a militant group that is embedded within the population did some atrocities. Israel has the absolute ability to locate and kill people through their satellite, and they have. There's no excuse for blowing up empty universities or mosques or churches or destroying 90% of the infrastructure of a place.
Hey, there's somebody in the chat. Shout out to Isra Shitter. That is hilarious. The Ark. Okay. Isra Shitter. That's not the name. Inhuman Society USA is the name. Welcome to the chat. Thank you.
No matter what they did, because the people who did it, they're horrible, they are zombies, they're crazy, they're terrorists. You should not punish a whole people. That's collective punishment.
Let me ask you. I don't disagree with some of what you just said.
Okay.
I do think it's been a collective punishment. I think it's wrong. I think it's gone way too far. I think that Gaza has just been systematically destroyed. And I have no idea what the plan is for after this, because the Israelis don't seem to have a plan. And it worries me enormously now, the rhetoric about going after the Iranian regime and where that will lead because of the way that global politics
It
is
bothers
working in
you
relation to Iran. But
enormously. I wonder
these
if you're
are,
having
big picture
any
issues we may get time for that.
Fuck
Let me ask you specifically
Piers.
about the Jerusalem Post. They've accused you repeatedly of anti-Semitism. What do you say to that? I mean,
Well, everybody's an anti-Semite in the eyes of Israel.
do you think you are or not?
What is anti-Semitism?
Somebody has a hatred of Jewish people because of their Jewish ethnicity?
Good. Where did I show that kind
I'm
of
just asking
hatred to
you,
Jewish people?
how do you feel about Jewish people?
I mean, should I go to do the white man thing? Like, most of my friends are Jewish.
No. How do you feel about Jewish people?
Like any other people. Like any other people. What are you talking about?
What you've been accused of?
So I've
What is that question, by the way?
I'm not saying you're guilty.
What if I just said to you, how do you feel about Jewish people? Thank you. What do you mean? What? How do you feel about Jewish? What the fuck are you talking about?
Dude, you asked me that question, like, how do you feel about sushi or something? I'd be like
Food. You know what I mean? Like, talk to me about how do you feel about blacks? How do you feel about Chinese people? How do you feel about Portuguese people? That is how you phrase a question when you're getting ready to tell me something racist. That's all I can think. Like when someone's getting ready to tell a fucking racist joke, like if I want to tell a racist joke against like Ugandan people and I'm like, yo, how do you feel about Ugandans? Before I say anything. Yo, how do you feel about Jewish people? He is desperate to get him to say something awful.
I'm just saying
I've been accused of so many things. You've been accused of so many
Of
things
course,
too, right?
And it's annoying.
Like, and then the thing is,
you're not that person.
anti-Semitism has turned into, if you criticize Israel, you're anti-Semitic.
I agree.
Yeah, so it's
been used as a protective shield against criticism.
It's a way to shut down conversation.
But there are
I agree, but he's also asking you, how do you feel about Jewish people?
He said, I agree, and then literally in the next sentence contradicted himself.
That is him having, that's the moral quandary, I guess. Because he is admitting, like, without any fucking shadow of a doubt, no, I agree with you, Israel's fucked up. But don't you agree that,
I agree that this is genocide, but don't you agree that somebody still needs to sign my paychecks?
you know what? That's 100% it. No, it's genocidal, and they're doing genocidal things. They're saying genocidal things. They're being charged with genocide, but they're saying it's not a genocide. So how do we square that circle?
Bassem, it's just that, like, if I don't get an answer from you, I don't get my Christmas bonus. So if I could just get one soundbite, just like.
Under the table, he's like, just read this.
There are also lots of genuine anti-Semites.
Yes.
Who do hate Jewish people.
Of course.
And want to kill them.
And there is a lot of people who hate Muslims, and there's a lot of people who
So
hate gays.
what?
and there's
Like,
a lot
why
of
do you
people
even
who hate
bring that
white
up?
people. Yeah.
What do we do about where we are with this situation now? What's the solution?
Solution?
Yeah.
Get people like you
genuinely.
off the fucking air.
I'm not a political analyst, but again, and I'm sorry being one-sided, but there is one side who has all the power, all the money, all of the weapons. They have been controlling the political spectrum. This is how many people in the Congress.
So how do we get to a solution? Do you believe in the idea of do you believe in a two-state solution, for example?
I don't know. I mean, it's not up to me.
Could it work? Could you have a Palestinian state
the way
side by side with Israel?
How would it work with Israel is taking all of the West Bank and making
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Gaza?
How could it work?
Again, I told you a quote from a book by Obama, and I'm telling it again. The problem with the Palestinian-Israeli conflict is that one side of them is very powerful and the other side is very weak. Why would Israel concede?
But if Israel has the power, as you say, and I'm not denying they have a lot of power, if they have the power, how should that best be wielded to try and find peace out of all this? I mean, I remember Northern Ireland, right? People said it was intractable. Loyalists and Republicans wanted to kill each other all the time, living side by side in utter enmity. And they did eventually get there. They had pressure leadership, and they got there. The terrorists became politicians. They worked it out. They got peace. There is now peace in Northern Ireland, where many people for decades didn't think there would be. Did you see any parallels there?
Because the stronger side, which is Britain at the time,
Let's talk about
they
that
didn't go
too.
and assassinate the leaders of the IRA, right?
They tried.
They tried, but they didn't.
Yeah, they tried. They did kill a lot of IRA members, yeah.
Yeah, but
they weren't fucking carpet
What they
bombing
didn't do
them,
was
were
go
they?
and target and attack civilian areas with bombing to kill IRA terrorists.
That's good.
Well, they didn't do.
So why didn't England do that? Why did they were like IRA terrorists? Why did they go in and just like destroy Belfast? Why didn't they do that?
Because their own side were also living in those homes.
Yeah,
they all lived amongst each other.
No, because.
Well, you don't have in Gaza. You don't have Israelis living side by side.
So wait.
And Israeli lives matter.
If Israelis living, you would protect those lives, but the Palestinians.
No, I'm saying Israel obviously is far more unlikely to bomb a civilian population area, even if they think Hamas are lurking inside it, if Israeli people are also living there.
Yeah, because they don't.
But that's the difference between that and Northern Ireland, is my point.
Yeah, because they don't care about the Palestinians' lives.
Well, it doesn't involve Israeli lives. But the analogy with Northern Ireland would be in that circumstance.
What's there to correct? He just said because they don't value Palestinian lives with
one side having all the power. And I mean, like, if Israel is actually.
I agree with your point.
Sincere about it, they should end the I mean, they should do the mildest thing, which is like stop the settlement.
Fucking Grammarly over here.
Somebody asked me, the Palestinian ambassador to the UK said to me, do you think what's been happening with these settlements, expansions in the last year on the West Bank, is that terrorism? I said, yes, it is. To me, it's what's been happening. It's terrorism.
So Israel's
That's what I'm talking about. He's going to use all this shit
I agree.
later
On the West Bank,
at a certain point, something had to give. And it's terrible, something had to give. Again, if you treat people like animals, they behave as animals.
So how do we get...
I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, do we expect the Palestinians to sit down as well-behaved victims while they be...
Do you remember how we spoke about Maslow's hierarchy of needs a few times in a lot of our videos?
Yeah, let me pull up a picture just so people know what we're talking about.
Yes, please. That would be super helpful, actually. So, essentially, if we take a real quick look at this triangle, there's just these 5 levels that are represented of basic needs that humans have to allow individuals to become like whole human beings.
Yeah.
Right. The most basic at the bottom are physiological needs.
Yep.
Within
right here.
those are food, housing, place to sleep, rest, stuff like that.
Exactly.
If you deprive a human being of something that's just basic need for survival, they can never make their way up that
to
triangle.
Think about, because you're stuck here, physiological needs and safety. You can't think about it, getting to self-actualization.
Well, there is no safety in this case.
They're stuck there, right?
Exactly.
They're trying to get those things. And here's the thing, right? When they talk about let me just rewind this for a second.
So how do we get...
I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, do we expect the Palestinians to sit there every single day?
I agree. On the West Bank,
and
I think
at a certain point, something had to give. And it's terrible, something had to give. Again, if you treat people like animals, they behave as animals.
Oh, yeah, that's what you're saying. If you treat people like animals, they're going to behave like animals. The Palestinians and Hamas are getting this freaking reputation for being barbaric and all this stuff. Ergo,
savages,
it's savages, exactly. Ergo, Israel's reaction... First of all, it's so fucked up that people say you must have known Israel was going to do this. That just like you got it's canon. It's a foregone conclusion that these guys are fucking savages.
Yep.
That the IOF army is just ready, biting at chomping at the bit to do this. But if this response, and this is a genuine question, if this response from Israel is okay, then why is October 7th so controversial? Given what Israel has done to Palestinians. If for 1,200 people, and they say about 700 or 800 were killed by Hamas, and I honestly will want to see full independent investigations to back those numbers up, because I think the ratio is way, way higher in the favor of Israel for the body count of Israelis on October 7th, because we have had testimonies from soldiers who are now heartbroken, having listened to the commands of their superiors saying open fire on anybody that moves, where you have Hamas soldiers being told over walkie-talkies, don't run, walk, because they'll think that you're not being kidnapped or something like that. It was the evidence coming out that Israel had targeted its own people in an effort to make sure that Hamas wasn't able to take hostages is overwhelming. That's
so insane.
And if you want to even just go about this from like a common sense perspective, there's a young man named Gilal Shalit or something like that, and he was a hostage taken by Gilad Shalit. My apologies. He was a soldier that was taken hostage by Hamas, I believe it was, before. And how many people did they exchange to get this guy back?
5 years.
Exchange.
1,027?
Yes. Okay. So for one prisoner, for one hostage, Gilad Shalit, they gave up 1,027 Palestinian prisoners, more like hostages, because a lot of those people, like I said, are children, women, people who men who have been who have not faced any charges. There is not a regular court system for them there, right? Everybody goes to military court, kidnapped out of your home, throwing a rock, liking a tweet. Any of these things can get you on a list that'll get you kidnapped or arrested. And this was a very controversial thing, because some of the people who did end up getting released, they were not all innocent civilians. So 280 of them were there for various terror attacks.
God.
And we know that terror attacks is like a broad thing when it comes to Israel, but definitely some of these people were fighters. Israel was felt very burned by that. Felt very burned by that, right? And this guy got he got.
Do you know the trolley problem? You know the trolley problem?
Oh my
that
God,
hypothetical, philosophical problem where if there's one person, if there's a train heading, and there's one person on the track, and you have to kill, in this case, 1,000 people. Why was this man's life valued so...
Israeli life is valued so highly. Jewish life, I'm sorry, not Israeli life. Jewish life is valued so highly by Zionist Jews in Israel, way higher than anybody else's life.
He's also in the IDF, by the way, so he was in the IDF, so that's probably a big deal too.
Big deal. And to the point where there's a reason why Israeli Jews who go to the West Bank to protect Palestinians in the West Bank are so effective, because the army will never, in the past, today it might be a little bit different, but typically the army will never do anything that'll really, really hurt you or restrict you of your rights in any way, because they don't want that kind of precedent to be in court, and they value Jewish life so highly. They want you to, prosper and have babies.
Yeah,
That's
and it would really
project.
go against their agenda.
Exactly. So, this guy though, he got hate. Let me see. See, Israel learned the wrong lessons. So even at the cost of lives, we must attack. So Israel has shifted their tone when it comes to this because of deals like this. And one of the hostages now actually put out a video, and unfortunately, this young woman is now no longer with us.
This is one of the hostages that was released in the exchange deal?
No. Gilad was like just one guy that they swapped, but one of the hostages from the October 7th
I understand.
attack,
Sorry. Yeah.
Hostage mentions unfairness. Videos. Oh, no. Okay. Let me... Hamas hostage.
This is where the ADHD does not help in remembering names.
Video. Essentially, what I'm looking for is the video from one of the hostages of October 7th, saying like, "You traded Gilad, you traded 1,000 people for Gilad. Why aren't you getting us out?"
Because they don't value your life.
The last one. The last.
Sorry, I'm trying to just see if this video has the girl I'm talking about. Never mind, I'll find it in a second.
What do we get?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, do we expect the Palestinians to sit down as well-behaved victims
Yes.
while they're being killed? Well, they should be slaughtered while not making noise. That's
Precisely.
So
impossible.
who should bring Palestine out of this?
I don't know, because all of the Nelson Mandelas are either killed or in jail.
Should it be other Arab countries?
I don't know.
Some people talk about a coalition of UAE or Saudi.
I don't have a solution. I don't have a solution, Piers.
Really? Have you not thought about it?
I'm not having to, because the solution is very difficult and complicated when Israel is doing what it's doing and having all of the support of the Western media and the Western
Absolutely.
government.
What should
Thank you
America
so
be doing?
much.
Get off the phone and say stop. As easy as it is. But they don't. It's terrible.
Why haven't they done that, do you think?
When did they ever do it?
What has been President Biden and
Oh yeah, they
Oh,
would
wow.
have like a slap on their hand every now and then, and they stop and they pause the arms, and then they will continue doing it again. No, I mean they're doing it again, and the thing is like they're using the same exact thing. You know, it's like, do you remember the one that I showed you, this one? Similar. This was like the kill between the Palestinians.
Yeah.
Remember that?
I remember that.
Now they go into Lebanon and they're doing the same thing. Look at that. These are the Lebanese.
but they're also
Lebanese-
destroying Hezbollah?
Yeah, but at what cost? And the thing is, like, if you look at that, remember when I gave you like what is the exchange rate?
Yeah.
It seems that the best investment that you can do is Israeli souls, because they never depreciate. Israeli souls, invest in Israeli
Given
souls.
Given the
It's an
Hezbollah's,
oxymoron, right? I don't know if they have
given that Hezbollah's response on October the 8th was to start unleashing rockets at Israel, which they carried on doing all year, at what point did
What
they not
They
damage
expect?
didn't
did
unleash
those
rockets. Israel.
cause?
Mehdi Hassan already told you that they needed in
Compared
Shabak
to what
farm.
Israel
No, he was
cause?
splitting hairs.
What?
He was splitting hairs.
No.
Okay, but it's land that Israel's claimed to its own since 1967.
Yeah.
Okay, so they say it's theirs.
You know,
say
but
it's
you know
not.
what's the difference?
But they knew what they were
You know
doing.
what's the difference between Hezbollah and Israel? Although I'm not a big
Go
fan of
on.
Hezbollah. Hezbollah always targets military bases.
That's not true. They kill civilians.
Yeah, how many?
Not as many as Israel, but they kill civilians.
They killed 42.
So, but the idea, so the idea they're only
How many?
targeting, they're only targeting
And
military.
Israel killed
is not true.
1,000 for 42. That's like a
Yeah,
1 to 20.
exactly.
But they've also targeted thousands of Hezbollah very precisely with these pages.
And then they killed 1,000 people.
Right.
Yeah, so it's not really targeted. And when you go and vaporize a whole square or a whole block, killing 200 people. I mean, the thing is, we talk about terrorism, right? We talk about terrorism, right? But we never.
Is killing terrorists, even if you kill civilians in the process, is that in itself an act of terrorism to you?
So
Yes.
what's
Yes!
the proportionality,
You
right?
tell me. You tell me.
I don't know, but it's not 1 to 1,000.
If you keep
When
saying
you
don't
do it
know,
at
it's a
this
convenient
ratio,
get out.
yes.
You're a very
Well,
smart,
yes.
you're a very smart
Will you do
guy.
the same thing?
Well,
Well, I ask you what should the Palestinians do? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but your answer.
You know what? You know what's a good measure for if it's terrorism or if it's not? Would you do it in your country?
That's excellent.
Would you do it in your fucking country? Would you bomb a school in London, England, because a terrorist was inside? And would you tell the parents, don't blame me, lay this at the feet of this motherfucker?
Exactly.
Why did he go? Look at him. He made me bomb your. If you wouldn't do it in your country and you're okay doing it there, you're a racist, bigoted piece of motherfucking shit who condones terrorism for thee and not for me. Damn it. Hitting the spacebar like that felt so powerful and then it didn't do anything.
Answer to whenever I say what should Israel do, you don't have one for any of it.
Stop what they're doing. That's actually what they know. I do know. They
well,
should
hang on.
stop it.
Yeah, but I'm not sure you do, because you don't like Hamas, you don't like Hezbollah, you don't like terrorism.
Oh, I
You know
found the
they've been
video,
waging
okay.
terrorism against Israel. I don't.
Here it is. Let me just put the volume on.
Went through operation.
Releasing this undated video. Mia injured, but alive. To my parents, to my brothers, she says, please get us out of here as soon as possible.
I just saw my baby and I started screaming.
Karen elated to see her daughter alive.
With
Hilberg Pollen, Rachel and John. 199 hostages missing.
Girl,
Loved
let me
ones
watch the
will still
thing.
return.
No, I was trying to find, huh?
Let me watch the fingers.
No, I was trying to find the. Shit, never mind. Yeah, I'll find it again.
Don't know what you expect Israel to do.
What do I expect Israel to do? What do I expect the people that actually have received the occupation and the killing of Israel every day? I mean, like, you're killing them. I mean, should they just like stay silent?
So they're all,
I mean,
they're all resistance, all freedom fighters?
Yeah, for their people, yes.
In your mind, are they?
If I was living in Palestine, if I was living in Lebanon, I would actually cheer on those people because basically they're the bigger bully with bigger guns that are killing me. So, yeah. I mean, a lot of people who live there don't agree, but
No.
I don't know.
A lot of people I know in Lebanon do not agree with
Yes,
that.
I
at all.
understand, but a
they
lot-
think Hezbollah has been a very insidious influence on that
of
country.
course, but like, even those people who hate Hezbollah, they don't like what Israel is doing to them.
But what is it? About 30% of people in Lebanon support Hezbollah. 70% don't.
I don't have these numbers.
2/3 of the country don't support them.
Yes.
They don't represent people.
Oh, good. So they don't represent the people, and yet you're killing people around Hezbollah, even if they don't represent them. So why?
Well, they're killing, in their eyes, they're killing terrorists.
Well, in their eyes, they're doing whatever. In their eyes, they were thinking that whatever school that they bombed in Egypt was inside a military
Do you
base.
accept, as we've been talking, though, that it is complicated?
Again,
it's not
cutting
simple.
them
No,
off.
it's not really complicated. There's an occupation that should end. If the occupation didn't happen, all of that wouldn't have happened. This problem was pushed.
You believe if the occupation, as you put it,
Yes.
and I don't dispute the terminology, but if you believe if they just ended that tomorrow, any form of control over Palestine, there would be no more attacks or ideology of wanting to attack Israel after that. See, I think it's very naive. There would be. These groups are wedded to the elimination of Israel. Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Iranian regime, they want Israel done, gone. And
There's a lot of countries in the world that
surrendering any kind of control over Gaza, for example, is not going to stop that. So how do you
keep doing it, right?
Well, no, but how do you move to a place where you no longer do it? You don't expose your country, as they put it.
As
to
much as I
chronic
don't like
insecurity.
all of these groups that you have mentioned, but those people have actually it's a kind of it's a cause and effect, right? Because again, Ahmadi hasn't told you there was no Hezbollah in 1978, there was no Hezbollah in 1982,
What do
and
you
there was
have
no
to say
Hamas in
about that,
1948, and there was no Hamas in 1970s.
But the ideology existed.
Really?
Yeah, the groups weren't set up, but the ideology existed.
Where was the ideology in 1978?
Well, you can't-
Where were Hezbollah?
You don't think
in 1978?
anyone in those places hated Israel in 1978?
Israel doesn't need an excuse to go in and occupy and kill people. They're already talking to you
But
about
they say they
but,
do.
But the thing is, Piers, you already have people in Israel talking openly about a greater Israel, about like a huge expansion of Israel. Tomorrow they will find a Hamas in the West Bank. They will find a Hezbollah in Jordan. They will find a Houthi in Syria.
What do you think they really want to achieve, Israel?
Expansion.
To what end? To what?
I don't know. You should ask them because they have.
do ask them, they deny.
They have been.
Of course.
Well, how many times did they deny things, and how many times did they deny killing UN workers? How many times did they deny? And the thing is, Piers, you can talk whatever you want about the Houthis and Hezbollah, whatever, but you have liars. You have people who are patent.
We have liars
liars
on both sides.
Yes, but one of them has the power, and one of them is taking my tax dollars and your tax dollars to.
Iran has power. You would agree?
Yeah.
And Iran is funding and training Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis. So they are exercising and wielding their own power in a proxy manner. So is there much difference between Israel wielding its power as a state against Iran wielding its mighty power through proxies?
Okay. I remember when you went on Trigonometry, you talked about Benjamin Netanyahu being a great visualist, right?
A great.
Yes, sir, there is Yes, sir, there is a huge fucking difference, okay? Yes, there is a difference. Iran funding the freedom freedom fighters who are trying to free the Gazans from a fucking genocide, and Israel begging the world, fucking beggar government, running around the world, help me, help me, help me. I need to bomb more children. Going around begging our money while Canadians and Americans and Europeans are dealing with their own fucking drama and fucking. Why is English failing me right now? Inflation, no jobs, housing crisis, water fucking quality crisis, all of these things going on. There's First Nation communities in Canada that have no fucking clean water, and we're sending hundreds of millions of dollars to the tune of billions of dollars over years over to Israel, over to Ukraine, all those places. Yes, there's a huge fucking difference. There's an enormous difference. Israel doesn't have to do any of the things that it's doing. It doesn't have to fucking take over the West Bank. It doesn't have to go fucking put a siege on Gaza. It doesn't have to do any of those things. It cannot create an enemy, fund the enemy, mock the fucking legal process, mock the fucking UN, put a middle finger up to the world, and then also claim the fucking moral high ground and victimhood. It just doesn't work that way.
Visualist.
What do you mean?
Like illustrator. He was like, he saw you. What was the word that he used? I don't know. Like when you
Oh, he took me to the map behind
the map,
desk,
right?
yeah. With his hand up.
And he put like his hands around
then
the country,
against
and he
Israel.
thundered against
Which
Israel.
was, it was a powerful optic.
It's not really. It's very deceiving.
Why?
Because most of the countries that he was measuring the hands, like Egypt and Saudi Arabia, are actually with either peace treaties, so they're almost normalized. So basically, most of the huge, bad, big countries, they're not a threat to Israel.
But shouldn't that be where the Middle East should go? Shouldn't all the countries have normalized relations?
May I just finish my point? The thing is, when you put it like that, you're basically giving the idea of like, oh, look at these small victim countries that they have no power. Now, so the first thing, most of these huge countries have peace treaties with them. The second thing, size is not everything, because with the same concept, England is very small compared to India and Pakistan.
Facts.
India is very small compared to all of their colonies. It's not really about the size, it's about the firepower. It doesn't matter if David is half the size of Goliath, if Goliath is armed with a sword and David is armed with a machine gun.
Yes,
Israel, you can talk about the proxies and the Houthis, but the real they are supported by not just America, but England and Germany and France.
But do you not think that after the normalization of relations with, for example, UAE and Israel and so on, that it was clear that Saudi wanted to go down that same path, almost certainly still do, that Iran
The
saw
Saudi
that as a
government does,
massive
the
threat
Saudi
to them
people
and their
don't.
power in the region, and that is why they helped orchestrate October the 7th to derail that process.
I really don't know how this happened. This is like a very inside information that I think
It's not
politically.
that inside. Many people have reported it.
So, okay.
It makes perfect
I
sense.
just want to put this up for a
And if
second.
that's true,
It's the
what's
picture
your view of how
of
that's...
Greater Israel that Netanyahu has had the fucking gall to go to the UN with. So look at this. Okay? This is supposed to be Greater fucking Israel, the new Middle East. Eat shit, pal. This right here, Greater Israel. Look at this. Look at what it's taking up. Okay? Parts of Saudi, parts of Iraq, Syria, parts of Egypt, Jordan.
should play out.
I mean, the thing is, even...
Wouldn't it be better if they all had normalized relations with Israel?
I think...
all those Arab countries?
Yes, I would love to have peace in the Middle East, but peace comes from justice. And the thing is, if you
There
get
it
peace
is.
just because
No
you
justice,
subjugate
no
the people,
peace.
that's not peace.
Should
That's
Arab
oppression.
countries take charge then out of this, of Gaza, of...
I don't like this infantilization of the Gaza and Palestinian people.
Everybody else has to decide what to do for them.
Oh, should other Arabs come in and just handle the Arabs? They're all one people. They're all Arabs. Should they, just get an Arab guy to come? Even if Saudi Arabia is not a fucking friend of Palestine in any way right now, even though Saudi Arabia is out there licking the fucking boots of Israel, look at how he mentions this, okay? He's not going to say let Iran come in, even though Iran has interests for the best interest in mind for the Palestinian people, wanting to get them freedom. He wants Saudi Arabia to come in. Why? Because they were almost going to normalize relationships with Israel. Oh, isn't that funny how the people who are going to be so friendly with Israel should come in right now and settle a beef that Israel is having, even though they have not been friendly at all with the Palestinian people, but they're Arab. So just Arab and Arab, it's assalamu alaikum, right? Both of you guys? Fuck you.
Of the Palestinian people. And shouldn't they lead the way? One of the arguments is raised.
I realize I'm
say,
swearing
the
a
Arab
lot.
countries know anywhere to be seen
I'll try to work
when
on
this
it.
stuff blows up.
Frack
It was left
you.
to us to handle it. If Arab countries went in and took charge of Arab people...
Arab countries came
What do you think, Piers? What do you want them to do?
By that logic, why is it wrong for Russia to go into Ukraine? They're pretty much the same. Huh? A lot of those people speak Russian. Why is it a bad thing? Russians going in and handling Russians. Frack mother fracker.
Well, help form sustainable, peaceful governments.
And would Israel allow them?
And say, well, if they had normalized relations with Israel, say it's UAE leading it, right, or Saudi, and they said, look, we want to have normalized relations with Israel, so we're going to make sure there's no more of this stuff going on in Gaza. Okay, leave
Yeah,
it to
they
us.
should just come at
And
it
was
from their
driven
own
by Arab
interests and
countries
decide,
and
hey,
Arab
we have
politicians.
we
And they
have
worked
something
out a
we want
way
to do. Why
to
don't we just
rebuild
make sure that you
Gaza
guys don't mess
and
us
to give
up
the
with us?
Palestinian people a genuine future, which didn't involve reliance on terror groups. And because of their relations with Israel could trust them to do that. Is that not, in the end, the only way this
That's
can
a very
happen?
wishful thinking because Israel will not allow anybody to interfere. Israel has
Maybe not.
Yeah, Israel
But they are normalizing relations with a number of
Yes,
Arab
but
countries.
they're normalizing with Saudi, UAE, Egypt. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't it?
The matter is the occupation. Again, I'm going to go back
No, I
to the
agree,
same
but
thing. I know I'm
No,
like
but-
a
sorry,
broken
just to be
record.
clear, that would also involve the end of any Israeli occupation of any kind.
Yeah, okay, if you end the occupation, if the Palestinians accept the deal.
Yes.
Because the thing is that there's a lot of, I'm sorry to say, and I'm not meaning you, of course, there's a lot of deception and lies about what actually happened because most of the urban myth is that the Palestinians have squandered their chance time and time. Ehud Barak was on your show last week, and he told...
Arafat did walk away from what would have been the best deal.
That is not true.
It is true.
That's not
Bill
true.
No,
Clinton
it's not
told me through the
fucking
whole
true.
thing.
Bill Clinton.
Okay.
Bill
I don't think he's a liar
Clinton
about
told me
He's
the
a liar.
whole
You know
thing.
why?
Really?
Yeah, he is.
Why would he lie?
Okay, I'll tell you why. Because in 1998, during the negotiations, Netanyahu took him aside and he told him that we destroyed the tapes. And when he said destroyed the tapes, he's talking about Monica Lewinsky tapes. This is actually like an article from the Times of Israel, when actually this was used by Netanyahu, these tapes, as a leverage to him to release Jonathan Pollard.
Sounds
That's
like
why.
a bonkers conspiracy theory.
Times of Israel. Okay, but like, can I?
Okay, so the Iran
Netanyahu
thing that he
destroyed-
mentions, that they're all up in so he has all this secret information about Iran that he can drop a second ago, but this is bonkers conspiracy theory.
Well, every time he brings something else up, every time Bassem Youssef brings something up, it's either conspiracy theory or he immediately needs to change the topic.
Yep.
Look,
No,
Monica
he didn't
Lewinsky
destroy it.
tapes.
He blackmailed the sitting president with sex tapes with Monica Lewinsky.
Do you believe that?
Yes, I believe that.
I don't believe that.
I'll tell you what happened. By the way, I can give you that to read it. It's the Times of Israel. I'm not making this up. And there's actually multiple books about it. And then Netanyahu, then Bill Clinton went to George Tenet to release Jonathan Pollard. Jonathan Pollard was a spy who stole the nuclear secrets of America. And then he was jailed and he was given the Israeli citizenship in jail. And then he went to George Tenet, Bill Clinton, and it's like, release Jonathan Pollard. And it's like, I will resign if that happens. So I don't know if I'm a president and I have sex tape against me by the prime minister by the Israelis, I would lie because what happened.
Who do you think would be the best?
I just want to finish something about Taba, because what happened in Taba, there's a very interesting video on YouTube between Joe Skorobo and Micah Brzezinski, and they were hosting Mr. Jeremy
Here he is.
Brzezinski, who's Micah's father. And
Let me just
Joe
pause
Skorobo
this
said
for a second. Here's Jonathan Pollard, the guy that he was talking about a second ago, the man who was an American intelligence agent who was later found out to have been a spy for Israel. Now, why would you spy on your friends? Isn't that funny? You guys are such close allies. Why are you spying on your friends? And of course, Israel was like, free that motherfucker or I'll, yeah.
The same exact thing. He said, like, Yasser Arafat worked for the best deal ever. And then Brzezinski, who was the security, he was the national security advisor to Bill Clinton, he said, your information are so bad, it's embarrassing to listen to you, because what happened is that Arafat didn't walk away. He said, I need some time to take this deal to the Arab leaders because the deal was very controversial. And what happened is that Ehud Barak left Taba, he went back to, and he lost the elections in Israel. So it was terminated by Ehud Barak leaving Taba.
But that's not the way Clinton recalls.
Yeah, well, he's a liar. Well,
maybe they're all
Well, Bill Clinton is a very, I mean, he lied. He lied about Monica Lewinsky, he lied. He's a liar.
Who would be the better winner of the American presidential election in 2 weeks? For getting this sorted in the Middle East?
I don't know, because both
Trump or Harris?
Trump and Harris, both of them are competing for who's Israel's favorite bitch. I mean, I don't
absolutely. Thank you so much.
I came to America, I was so happy, like, to vote in the
Facts.
United States, and I was like one of those people, blue no matter who. But then I see the Republicans and the Democrats, they fight tooth and nails about everything. They fight on healthcare, about abortion, about guns, and then when it comes to Israel, it's like who's better serving Israel? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, when Netanyahu went,
when there's a fight over Israel, it's who decided to give the money fastest and who decided to give the money most.
Absolutely.
They have the nerve to say Barack Obama was anti-Israel. That man gave them 36 billion or something, he gave them the biggest package, the aid package of any other president. But he didn't like.
Mum's the word.
The rim job wasn't good enough. You know what I mean? Yeah.
in Congress, he was like received like a rock star.
It was. I was so surprised.
He was great. And then I was watching it and I thought like this is how liberty dies, to a thunderous applause.
Well, it just shows that there is, for many American politicians, they will show blind support to Israel.
Yeah, but that's not right. That is not
I
right.
agree. But that's
not Americans,
that's
American politicians.
I mean, that is not right. I mean, I don't know where that would take us.
You've done a song about, which I wanted to end with because it just made me chuckle. What's the song called? It's about BB.
I'm not going to play the song because this has already been going on for long enough, and we've all heard the song by now. I think it was excellent. Man, Bassem just seems defeated.
He really does in this interview. He seems defeated, and he seemed very frustrated because it seems like, you know, the look on somebody's face where they're like, I've explained this to you 100 times, and you said you understood, so why are we here again?
Wow, thank you. It's literally like listening to somebody explain or ask you over and over again, what is the wife's culpability, even though she was getting beaten by her husband?
Yeah.
Like, how could you have a serious conversation with somebody like that?
Yeah,
it's
but
so
did you?
obvious
Yeah,
that
but
you're
did
not
you?
sincere.
Did you burn dinner that night though?
You know what I mean? Could you have gotten things set on time? You know? Did you buff his car? I know you said you washed it, but did you use a turtle wax after? I don't know. Like, it's hard to have these conversations because it is a joke that you're asking. It's a sick joke because you know exactly what's going on in the world right now, Piers Morgan. You know exactly what's going on. You know it better than most. And you are giving yourself these little technicalities of, you know, poo-pooing some things that Israel does and like, oh, you know, that's probably, but what were they going to do? But what could they have done? I have to ask myself this. All right, then. Let's not play these games. Let's not. Like, if you want to play these games, fine, but I don't think we need to participate anymore. If you come on the show, I think you need to come with Muhammad Hijab energy and just put it in his face that he is a compromised, lying, biased, bought-out shill hack. I'm going to end it there unless you have anything you would like to add.
I'm kind of tired of seeing Piers Morgan do these interviews at this point because it just seems like one ear out the other, and I'm like, so I'm just wasting an hour for you to just say the same exact Israel like lines that you've been told.
I've had a moral quandary about even covering this.
Yeah.
But the fact is, it gets views. It gets views, and even though we're a small channel and the reach of this is not going to be enormous, it needs to be on the record. It needs to be said that this guy is a POS, and we see it, and we're tired of your pretending. Oh, and before we wrap this up, I actually did find the real video that I was looking for earlier. So let me just put this up when I was talking about the Gilad Shalit thing. So All right, whatever.
This has been an unsuccessful search for that video.
No, it's here. It's just... Okay, here it is.
נחטפתי ב7 באוקטובר מהמסיבה ברעים. אני פונה אליך, בנימין נתניהו, לכל ממשלת ישראל, תעשו מה שאתם יכולים כדי להוציא אותנו מפה עכשיו.
First of all, can we
head,
just talk about her body?
The
Her body
neck
language
movement
and the head.
is wild.
She's like, Benny Netanyahu, get your bitch ass up out of there and get me the fuck up out here.
Seriously.
Okay? These guys are feeding me nothing but fucking bread and water. Ain't no fucking food coming in here, okay? I'm trying to go to Shabbos dinner.
אני סובלת, כולנו סובלים פה. יש פה הפצצות בלתי פוסקות.
The bombing here never stops. We're afraid for our lives. We're scared of dying here.
אני פונה אליך, בנימין נתניהו, זה ששחרר מעל 1,000 מחבלים בעסקת שליט. כרגע דורשים פחות מרבע על כל אחד מאיתנו. אני לא מצליחה להבין, אני שווה פחות? אני אזרחית מדינת ישראל שמילאה וממשיכה למלא את כל חובותיה למדינה. איך אני עדיין נמצאת פה? אני פונה לכל עם ישראל, צאו לבחוץ, תפגינו, תצעקו את מה שאנחנו לא יכולים לצעוק. אנחנו סובלים פה, אנחנו רוצים לחזור הביתה למשפחות שלנו. הכל קרה.
Please compare the condition of a prisoner in Hamas custody to what the fuck we've seen coming out of Israeli detention centers or fucking concentration camps.
בגלל הפשלה של מדינת ישראל וכוחות הביטחון ב7 באוקטובר.
Look at her. She has a gall cells. The only thing they're afraid of are Israeli bombs.
אבא, שני, מאי, אני אוהבת אתכם כל כך.
This is really sad, this last part where she talks about...
אבא, שני, מאי, אני אוהבת אתכם כל כך.
She seems... It's weird because on the one side, I don't really have any empathy or sympathy for IDF soldiers who have seen what they've seen and don't want to immediately distance themselves from that entire organization, because I know that the consequence is like 6 months in jail or something, which just do it if the alternative is that you have to go and kill kids. But it's hard not to see the humanity in her face.
Yeah, because she's a girl. She went to a freaking festival to have fun with her friends, and now she's
you know what I mean?
And the one place that you should be able to count on in a situation this severe is just turning a blind eye to you, because they're like,
and they're a superior military. They have drilled into you your entire life
I cannot
the value of you as an Israeli citizen, and she just seems like a girl that was raised with so much confidence.
I can imagine going back to my home country, ending up in a situation like this, and the Canadian government not immediately getting involved. Like, just
and especially when there is an offer right there.
Yeah.
Here's a video. She's alive. Come and get her. Just give me. And you know for a fact that you're holding a lot of these people for no goddamn reason. And just like seeing her movement, her body movement, like the attitude that she has, like it's hard not to think about.
Life set up for her, you know?
Exactly. It's hard not to think about, like, you know, a family that. The teenage arguments she must have had with her parents were probably epic. You know what I mean? Like a strong-willed girl like this, who's in a horrible situation, who still has the moral, the fiber, the resilience, the gumption to friggin' film a video like this and to put all that sass and neck and everything into it, despite everything that's going on around her. And you have an Israeli government who is not at all thinking about their hostages. They're only thinking about their fucking expansionist plans. And that's why she was sacrificed.
The most upsetting part about it is the fact that she mentions that she's hearing the rockets, and the highest chance is that she's not going to get killed by Hamas, that she's going to get killed by her own government.
Exactly. And that's a horrifying way to spend the last moments of your life. With that, and then you know, because you were there and you remember the public outcry for Gilad, and you just thought, you know what, it's a foregone conclusion.
Right.
Like, you're in there with your other hostage friends, and you guys are probably scared, but you're looking at each other like, don't even worry about it, bro. We're Israelis, and we know how they do for our people. And then like days turn to weeks, turn to months, and now it's a year, and this horrible realization, because you're part. Some of them. Like it's a conscription military, so the society is a militarized society. Everybody who's in Israel has to serve, right? And except for certain very specific exceptions that are even now being, they're attempting to turn the stuff around. So when you have all of that, and you you know the depravity of your army. You know what it is. And so when they don't come for you for a certain amount of time, I'm sure a horrible, sickening realization comes to you that they're doing everything that you know you guys have done before, which is putting a certain objective, or you know something, that they're doing something that they've always been capable of, but you never thought you'd be on the receiving end of it. And now you're seeing the true horror and vile nature of what you served. And you're seeing the humanity in the people that you were told to fear, as they keep you in these conditions that Gazans above the ground cannot even enjoy. We'll wrap it here. Thank you for tuning in to Bread in Captivity. If you stuck around this long, you are absolutely amazing. Thank you to the people who participated in the chat. It absolutely means everything to us. Please like, subscribe, comment, whatever, all of that stuff. And we will try to get a more consistent posting schedule going. In the meantime, peace.